Mute. Okay, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Chisholm City Council for August 25th, 2021. Good evening, everyone. Margaret, could you take a roll call, please?
Councillor Halverson.
Present.
Councillor Michalaraha.
Present.
Councillor Fountain. Absent. Councillor Lance.
Here.
Councillor Vaki.
Here.
Mayor Champa.
Here. Adopt the agenda. Council, you've seen an email this morning. I hope you all seen it. I'm going to remove items 2, 3, 4, and 5 under myself. MAPE has reached out to us and they'd like to have a discussion with us before we move forward. They have some concerns. I don't believe we should take up any of it without taking it all up at once. So I want to remove them tonight, as the email Stephanie sent out said. Just a typo that was in the item under Stephanie, under 7B, number 1, having to do with Headwaters. The contract was the dollar amount plus utilities. I think it said including utilities. So when we talk about that later, just so you have that heads up. And then Eileen wants to have a budget meeting. She mentioned a week of the 13th. We can discuss the exact date when we get to it. I thought we would put that under K6, 7K6, which would be the last item under herself. So basically remove them items and add that budget meeting under Eileen. So look for a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda with those changes.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Second.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? Margaret?
Councillor Halverson.
Aye.
Councillor Michalaraha.
Aye.
Councillor Fountain. Absent. Councillor Lance.
Aye.
Councillor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Pledge of allegiance, everyone.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, folks. In your package, you had a rather large printout from Jeff Sterl and Associates, Jeff Sterl and Company, having to do with our audit. Jeff is here to speak to us about the audit. I'll just turn it over to you at this point, Jeff. Good evening.
Good evening. It's a fairly large packet that you did receive, but I'm going to go over it in a real quick manner here, just to hit a few of the highlights, and be happy to answer any questions anybody that might have questions that's actually looked through the whole report. We did go through the report in more detail with city staff. So just to start off with the audit itself, the audit report was a clean audit report once again. In other words, everything was presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Some of the key financial information, the general fund, you had expenditures that exceeded your revenues by about $180,000 for the year. Also, the permanent improvement fund also spent $119,000 more than was brought in. Just to note with the general fund, although you did go into deficit spending mode for the year, your fund balance still is quite healthy, so it didn't make a big impact on the overall financial health of the city. On the enterprise fund side of things, your water fund had a loss before transfers in of roughly $164,000. The sewer fund, very similar, loss of $174,000. Although the garbage fund was profitable for the year because of all the purchases of equipment with your new garbage system, that ended up having the fund ended up going into a deficit cash position. So at the end of the year, they in effect had to borrow $67,000 from other funds since we basically had a negative $67,000 cash balance at the end of the year. As far as findings go with the financial statements, those of you who have been around for a while now are familiar with the segregation of duties and the preparation of financial statements under findings are very, very, very typical for a city of your size, so nothing unusual there. Along with the financial audit itself, we're also required to go through the Minnesota Legal Compliance Guide. There's a specific set of procedures that we have to go through. And we did have two findings during the year. The one finding was very similar to what we had last year. You received state fire aid from the state of Minnesota. And as part of that process, you have 30 days to turn around and remit that to your Fire Relief Association. You fail to get that done within that allocated time period. Eventually, they did get their money, but not within that 30-day requirement. And also, one other issue that we had as far as legal compliance, whenever you're getting gifts and grants, you are supposed to accept them through a resolution. The bulk of them were done during the year, but there were a couple instances where you didn't go through the formal process of getting those actually accepted through your minute process. So that's really all I wanted to touch on as far as specifics, but happy to answer questions that anybody might have.
Council, do we have any questions for Jeff? Jeff, could you talk a little bit more about that item with the fire department? I think I had a discussion with Eileen back when this actually happened, and they figured out what happened, and it wouldn't happen again. But can you tell me a little bit more about what that actually is? I'm not sure I 100% agree what that money was for and things like that.
Well, that is actually just every city receives a state fire aid for their fire department, which is used to help fund the basically the pensions that are paid out through the Relief Association. So, some years, depending where the calculations are at, cities may have to make a contribution. Sometimes all they are required to do is turn around and remit that state aid. And like I said, it's just comes through the normal payment cycle through the state. And once you get it, you've got that 30 days to turn it over to the fire department, the Fire Relief Association.
Okay, so that's where our folly is receiving it, not turning it over in a timely manner.
Correct.
Okay, good. That's all I have. Council, any other questions for Jeff? Jeff, I guess that's all I have. The other one with the when we receive monies, we try to always receive it through a resolution. That definitely is an oversight because we have some just about every meeting that we do that. So not sure where that happened, but we'll be more careful. That should be easy one to fix.
Mayor, can I clarify that one?
Yes.
So what happened was the resolution was for the city and it was an economic development grant, and the resolution should have been written to the Economic Development Authority instead of the city. So it was an oversight on my part.
Okay. All right. Council, if there's nothing else, I'll let Jeff go, and we'll look forward to seeing him next year.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jeff. Have a good evening. All right, so next on public participation, we have Matt Roy with Headwaters Entertainment. I believe I've seen a few other names here. Let me look. Oops, I grabbed my mouse again. I keep grabbing my mouse from the computer. So, yeah, I think we have Ricky McManus as far also on with, and then I'm not sure who the Sherry Marshik is, but I guess she's part of it all too. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Mayor. How are you?
Good, good.
Well, thanks
Turn
for
it over to you, sir.
yeah, thanks for taking the time again to talk to me, guys. I'm Matt Roy with Headwaters Entertainment. We are looking at the basement of Chisholm City Hall as a studio space for film and television and commercial work. I've spoke to the EDA a couple times about this plan. I think you all should have received the proposal packet that I typed up and sent out a while back. And along with that should have been kind of a brief and rough timeline of some projects that are coming to the area over the next 12 months. I guess my goal is to continue to build relationships within the Northland and the Iron Range specifically. I've been working up there out of Grand Rapids for the last 6 years, and we're trying to build more of a workforce up there for film and television, mainly for, to facilitate and be resources for projects that are coming to town and projects that are shot here locally by local Minnesota filmmakers. So what I've been doing over the last few months is developing relationships with companies outside of the Iron Range in the metro area to set up offices in northern Minnesota, and specifically at the studio space in Chisholm. This would do is offer their resources to productions coming from out of town and productions that are from the area, and be a bit more sorry, I lost myself there for a second. With the rebates that we have, it would be a bit more appealing to have the actual companies up there and be a resource for the companies that are coming from out of town. Some of these partnerships are Red Star Pictures, Cinequipped, Conduit Sound, a couple of location managers. And then we also are looking at, human resources, production managers like myself, coordinators. And with these companies, the idea is that we're not just hiring from outside, but we're also training people from inside. And I've been doing that now for with the Upper Midwest Film Office. We're about to do our second workshop at the Discovery Center next month, but it's just continuing to grow the workforce that we have in the area, and also facilitate productions that are coming from outside the area, which seems to be quite a few, as I'm aware of. Obviously, I don't have for sure's on all of those yet. It kind of comes down to when they pull the trigger. It's a little different with film production than it, with construction and stuff like that. It really comes down to the stars aligning, and that's when productions happen. As you guys probably read in there was the $1,500 we agreed to for the rental, and also for the cost of the utilities, which would happen per month. It'd be great to find out what those utilities would cost, so I can kind of add those in and tally those up. It's not just going to be me that's running this entire thing. We look at this as a cooperative space, where a lot of the companies that we're bringing in are working together to make this sort of thing happen, and working with the community and building relationships and hiring locals. I guess our goal is really just to be a driving force in creating opportunities and productions in the Northland through the business and the art of filmmaking. We're going to continue to do that, I guess, regardless, but it would be great to have a home base in Chisholm, being that there is the facility available, and we've already started to develop some of the relationships within the community. So I guess, I don't pitch city hall or city councils that often, so excuse me for being a little out of sorts. But if you guys have any questions for me, I think that's probably the easiest way for me to go about this. I could read off this entire document, but I'd take up my whole 10 minutes. So I guess I'll just kind of open it up for you guys.
Matt, did you hope to bring Ricky in to speak too? I know she spoke very highly of you when we met the first time, so.
Yeah, I'd have to pay her another $100 to do that. So no, Ricky and Sherry are really here to just to support and to back any questions that you guys might have about of production coming to town. Really, this is just kind of my endeavor. And I think hopefully the goal would be, UMFO has an office there as well in the future. Right now, we're all sort of just kind of building up our our resources at the moment, and waiting for those productions to kind of happen. So
I understand some of the state incentives came through then. That was one of the big ones you were concerned about.
yeah, there were two. So we have a cashback rebate that's available, and we also have a tax credit, a transferable tax credit, as well as the IRRB and the St. Louis County rebates, which makes it pretty appealing for productions to not only come to the state, but actually film in the home state. So filmmakers from Minnesota don't have to go elsewhere in order to get their productions made. They can stay home and, you know, I don't want to say take advantage of the rebates, but that's what they're there for. They're to appeal to companies.
Council, questions for Matt while he's on with us? We are going to discuss this more thoroughly later in the meeting, but he's here to answer questions at this point.
I have one question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Marty.
So is the proposed rental space strictly the basement floor of the city hall for now, or are you thinking it's that whole big back building as well?
From my understanding, it would be the entire open area in the basement, and then some of the offices off to the right when you go down into the basement, the restroom areas, and there's a couple office spaces off to the right side, as well as like it looks like a hair and makeup wardrobe station has been kind of set up there by the previous renters.
I guess my question is, are you including that entire ginormous huge building in the back of the city hall, or just the downstairs of the city hall building? Do you know what I'm talking about? The building off the back is twice the size of the city hall, so I'm not clear exactly which space you're intending to rent.
Marty, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I believe it's the entire large area that's used to be a curling club, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was curling and ice, and well, that was the filming area for the last movie.
Right, correct. Yeah, that would be the idea, is that we would rent that space and do, you know, similar type productions that the last renters had there. We would also be looking at, you know, for the future, potentially putting some more office spaces off to the left of that big wide open space where the pillars are going up and down throughout, just to add in some like some sound recording studios and offices for green rooms and things like that. But that would be sort of the future goal.
Council, any other questions for Matt?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Travis.
All right. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
So, you know, I'm on the EDA, so I was wondering if you could just kind of, I know we had talked initially about a 1-year contract, and I don't know what this one would look like. That's a further discussion, but can you kind of talk about like what the next year looks like as far as that space goes? Are we going to have, you know, is it just a space where you consider your home, or are you going to actually have casting and other things in there? Can you kind of just talk a little bit about your vision and for the next year?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. We do have a part of our partnerships is a casting company. It's Northland Casting, where they've worked a lot down in the cities, but they're looking to set up a home base up north, and that would be casting locals in the area for smaller roles and background extras. They're also looking at, you know, just building portfolios with people from the area for housing and food, lodging, all of those. I guess the next year is really just sort of, again, building relationships up north, also building out the studio to house productions, whether that be for, you know, renting out the space as production offices, or renting out the entire back area, much like the last production company that was in there, building sets and creating a space to film in. as well as, building out sound recording booths. And, I look at a studio as not just a film studio, but it's sort of an all-encompassing, all-inclusive package where we're able to just house any needs that a production has. Sometimes that could be as little as they just need an office space to rent out so that they have a home base in the area, where they can do all their printing, their casting, their holdings. They can cook all the food upstairs in the kitchen area, to, having everything done in the space itself. I guess that's kind of, the vision for the next year is really just kind of building out that studio to facilitate productions that are coming to town, and productions that we have as well.
Council, anything else for Matt? Matt, having been one of the first people to meet you here when you and Ricky first came to talk to Stephanie and I can tell you seem like a very reasonable person when it comes to expectations. You're realistic. You don't build Rome in a day, right? It takes a long time. So, and I get a sense you understand that very well.
Right. I think for a while it is going to be just kind of creating as we go. I look at everything that I do as a marathon, and it's not a sprint, So I think that's, when I try to picture what the next year looks like, it's just like, well, I definitely want to start building out the space, and I would love to house some productions there. It'd be a lot of, that's kind of the goal for everything that we've been doing up north. So.
All right. Well, you're welcome to stay on and see how our discussion goes later, or we'll certainly let you know.
I got to go pick up my baby at daycare, but I would love to stick around. Thanks again for having me, everybody. It's
all right.
Great seeing you again, Mayor and Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right, Council, we'll move on to Council reports. I'll start with Adam tonight. Good evening, Adam.
Good evening. I have no formal report. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheyenne, report tonight.
Good evening. No report.
Travis, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Just one major thing that I want to touch base on, and that is the garbage can art contest. I need to promote this very highly. There is only a short amount of time left to get your submissions in to be entered. It does end on the 31st, which is next Tuesday. So we have gotten, I'd say 10 to 12 entries overall so far. And we certainly hope that we will get more than that. But I have to say there have been some pretty darn creative art pieces. And who would have thought a garbage can could look so good, So yeah, Larry, April, and I will be meeting next week at some point to get those together, but I want to encourage people. There is still time. You have till next Tuesday to submit your photos, and you can email them to April, Councillor Fountain, myself, or Larry as well. That is all I have.
Thank you, Travis. Marty, report tonight.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I attended the airport meeting with the city of Hibbing and the airport authority. It's disappointing that the city of Chisholm could not have a quorum at that meeting. I'll say that. And also attended the closed session on Monday regarding the administrator, clerk treasurer, deputy clerk treasurer position. And I've also had multiple meetings with the trail contractor out at Redhead. That's all I have.
Marty, have you been down to the water at all at Redhead? I've been meaning to just find a way down there at some point to go see how all that is.
I haven't been there recently. Well, my focus has been up on the rim trail. It's been the biggest focus of our project this year so far. And I rode close by, and I have not been down by the water recently.
Okay. All right, myself, just a small report. The main thing, other than what some of you have already said, is at the HRA, you heard a lot about the roof at the lake apartments leaking and everything else, and we are going to fix the roof. So we used all of like what the money we had left from this year and like all of next year's money to fix that roof. We were hoping to try to find some money, and we continue to look, but we're going to, that's our next big project. And I think we have a little bit money left, so we're going to look at doing some things at the Lincoln apartments. So that'll be good for the residents there. That's it hasn't been leaking since we did a temporary repair last year, but we knew that this was the end result. They needed a full roof, and it was quite substantial in cost. Council, anything else before we move on to our staff, our department heads? All right, so we'll jump right to Mandy, building official. Good evening, Mandy.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I do not have a formal report, just what's on the agenda, unless there's any questions of me.
Council, anything for Mandy? Okay, we'll move on. Economic development. Stephanie, report on that side.
Just one quick thing, our new website did go live last week. So if you hadn't had a chance to take a look at that, please do so. And then just provide any feedback for me if you see anything that needs to be changed. Thanks.
Thank you. City engineer, Jim, report tonight.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple of quick updates. Our 3rd Street Northwest Infrastructure Replacement Project is continuing. The utility work is done to the west of 8th Avenue from the 8th Avenue to the west end. And they're right now doing the street reconstruction of that segment, which should be finished up by Labor Day. And then the utility contractor will move back in and start installing the sewer and the water between 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue. In the past month, under our contract cooperative agreement with the county, the crack sealing and seal coating contracts got finished. Crack sealing was done on 3rd Avenue Northeast, 11th Street Northwest, and 4th Avenue West. And then just a couple of weeks ago, the seal coating and fog sealing was done on 1st Street North, 1st Street South, 2nd Street South, and 3rd Street South. Portions of those roads, they're very black, but they really look good. And so we're moving along. The next big thing that we're going to do, and Larry and I will piggyback a little bit on this. The gas company has finished lowering and replacing their gas lines in alleys where we're planning to do the bituminous reclamation. So that contractor is planning to move in next Monday. Estimates that it'll take him about 5 or 6 days to complete all 80 blocks plus about a block and a half of city streets. And to that effect, Larry and his crews are, and they'll be, what their plan is to start at the north end of the city, mainly up in the Von Steffenroth School area, and work their way south. Larry and his crews are going to be out posting notices at the ends of the alleys, and then we will they'll also be handing out a flyer, probably putting it in the door. It looks something like this, just giving information to people, and on the back side of it is a map that's identifying which alleys and streets we'll be doing. The idea is to put out the notice at the ends of the alley and to hand out these notices by the public works crews a day or two in advance, so people can get their vehicles and other private property out of the right of way of the alley so we can move in. Like I said, the contractor anticipates that he'll get all 80 blocks done in 5 or 6 days. They'll doing the reclamation is really a rototilling of the existing bituminous surface and aggregate base underneath it. We'll end up with kind of a gravel type mix, although it compacts better and is quite dust free because of the bituminous that's in that. Public Works crews will be coming along behind that to do the grading, the shaping, and the compacting of that. So again, starting at the north end of the city, and hopefully we'll be done or close to done by Labor Day. And then I'm continuing to work with the Public Works crews. They've done some more televising on some alternate streets that we're looking at for the mill and overlay project. So I'm continuing to review the televising reports and
Mix of gravel and tar.
Tammy, your mic's on.
that's all I have, Mayor. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Jim, just a comment. I'm glad you brought up the dust because there's been a couple of rumblings about the dust, and it's interesting that you mentioned that there's actually less dust because of the type of composite it ends up being compared to like a gravel.
Yeah, it's going to allow us, we just don't have the money to be paving everything. If people want their alley repaved, they can certainly petition for it, but then it gets assessed. This allows us in the Public Works to go in and do some grading to add or subtract gravel as we need to as well. But there, like I said, it's about a 50-50 mix of the bituminous that's existing, that's pretty well gravel anyway at this point, but with any underlying aggregate, we try and do about a 50-50 blend, and it usually, once the sun beats on it, it firms up a little bit. Sometimes it gets a little bit hard to start grading, but hopefully it'll be an improvement in terms of rideability for vehicles and few less shock absorbers and springs that need to be replaced for the citizens.
You know, we had we had a couple of these we did last year around town.
Cemetery is where we did this last year, yeah, with the same type of operation.
How come springtime, how much of this ended up in yards in the street at the end of the alley and whatnot? Yeah, I have this type of driveway at my shop, and I tend to get a lot of rocks when I'm plowing, but I'm pretty rough too. So, and I'm plowing ain't really set up to do big areas. So just curious.
There may be areas, and Larry and I will have to look at it and evaluate it, but we know there's certain alleys that have a pretty good grade on them, and it may require that we come in and put a tack coat on to hold it in place, or we may actually have to put down 1.5 inch bituminous surface just to hold stuff in place so it's not eroding to the bottom of the hill or out into our streets and into our storm sewer system.
Okay. Yeah, I was more concerned about when we're plowing. You know, you plow, you're dragging all the way down that alley, and if you got any loose stuff,
oh, okay,
carry it all the way down, or it ends up in people's yards. But we'll watch it as we go. Council, anything else for Jim on that?
One question, Jim, and it just popped in my head as you were talking about it, as you and John talked about it, is I don't know what the cost would be, but would a thin seal coat with the chips and the oil be a reasonable way to kind of bond all that together? Maybe, I don't know if it'd be worth the expense or not.
It probably would, and it's something that we could certainly accommodate within that contract with the county that we have. This year was very economical, and in those locations where it's probably a very economical and very reasonable solution, Marty, to trying to hold that material in place where the grade is so steep that intense rainfalls wash it down. Something we'll certainly take a look at and try.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Council, anything else? Thank you, Jim. We'll move on. Public Works, Larry, good evening. Report tonight.
Evening, everybody. Short report. My packet's as thick as yours. So we did finally get a casual labor applicant. Thank you, Margaret, for getting me that today. Not a ton of interest out there, but I do appreciate the council and mayor. They're supporting we did up the minimum wage on that. So hopefully that helped. I don't know. We have been we'll work with Mandy on getting our employees the annual OSHA training. Now that we're pretty stuck to Zoom for the rest of the year, the way things are looking, we'll just fire away on that, and we'll get groups going on Zoom again to get our required training done. We hauled the majority of our salt sand already for the winter. We have a couple of thousand yards of class 5 to get yet out of a county pit there north of town. So we're a little bit early on that, but they were looking to get rid of salt down at the docks too. So we've been working on that. We started some warranty repairs on the garbage trucks. We were able to use a local vendor for a significant amount of work there. So that worked out really, really well. We assisted the fire department with, they blew a tire on their engine too, where they were helping with the Greenwood fire up there. So we were able to help them guys out. And so we were glad that they were able to go up there and help out and put in the time. So we jumped right on helping those folks out when we can. So where I'm expecting a DNR visit from a representative of a hydrologist, I believe she is, from out of the Evelyn, but DNR is very busy right now, so that's pushed back. But the question come up: what can we do around the lake when it comes to brushing, and what should we do around the lake, and such? So we're going to get some professional advice, and then we'll discuss as a group after that. Like Councillor Vodke mentioned there, I'm very excited about the garbage can art. It brings a smile to my face. You see these garbage cans are doing. These people are really creative. I just love it. So it makes me smile and laugh, and I like that there. And then the alley reclamation project, like Jim said, we were out actually. We handed out some flyers today at 9th Street and 9.5 Street, North, West, and East. We handed some flyers out today, and we'll continue tomorrow, prepping for the contractor to come in Monday. And I have fielded some concerns from neighbors and people around that don't have gravel driveways. They haven't been used to them, or they haven't had gravel alleys. But we have a lot of gravel alleys in town. I don't know what the percentage is, if it's 50-50, 60-40, what it is, but really, it's pretty common, and I think we're going to be okay. Some people are concerned about some stuff in their yards and such, but we'll just have to see how it goes. And it depends on the weather too. If we get a good freeze in the fall, or if we get that 10 inches of wet, heavy snow that you got to get off just because you can't pack it in the freezer, it's too much. So we're just going to see how it goes. But we have a lot of gravel alleys in town already, so we're not expecting too much of disruption, or unpleasantry for folks even, I would say. That's about what I got. That's what I have on my list. Always open for questions, of course.
Council, anything for Larry? Thanks, Larry. We'll move on. Fire Chief Chris, report tonight.
Yes, good afternoon, Council, Mayor. Yeah, kind of hit on what Larry was talking about, the Greenwood fire. Last Monday, I got a call about 10 p.m. from the State Fire Marshal's office liaison. He's coordinating all the state, local, community efforts for manpower for that fire, and called if we could send some personnel and equipment. Told him absolutely, and I'll see what I could do. So we've been out there 3 times now with our engine 2 for 16-hour days. We have 2 more days to go as of right now, unless we're told not to. Our tender 1 will be going out tomorrow and Friday to help fight the fire. I know they are going offensive on this fire starting today. They're going to be doing a lot of back burning and putting in lines. Every day's changed. I've been in constant contact with the fire marshal. He's been giving really good updates to all the community chiefs just to let them know what's going on. So kudos to the guys that are dumping days to help out and go there and, help fight that fire. I mean, it's a very fluid situation out there, and hopefully they can get a handle on it here soon. But that's all I got. And thank you, Larry, for the tires. Appreciate it.
Council, anything for Chris? Other than a big thank you for obviously helping out with that mess up there. All right, thanks, Chris. We'll move on. Library, Katie, report tonight. I see she popped in at the end. Good evening.
I'm here. Good evening, everyone. All is well at the library. We're winding down on our summer programming. Today we had story time and had 28 kids show up. And this time of the year, it kind of seems to fizzle out a little bit with the story times, but we still have a pretty strong crowd coming in. So we're going to continue with story time on Wednesdays at 10, as long as the kids keep coming. Other than that, I just wanted to touch base on hours of the library. Since COVID, we've been in the process of just slowly expanding the hours, and we're looking at, after Labor Day, expanding the hours again back up to 5 days a week. So we're looking at Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 to 4, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 6. So we just want to make sure we keep that later shift in for people that get off work at 5 o'clock, and so they still have the ability to make it there before closing. And I got 2 items later on the agenda, and that's about it, unless there's any questions.
Don't say anything for Katie tonight. Thank you, Katie. Moving along, Police Chief, report tonight. Vern, good evening.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I don't have a formal report, just a heads up that I will be at the next meeting bringing up some forward some para resolutions to accept para. We do have 2 officers that or candidates that have passed their physicals, psychologicals, and everything to get started, and they will be starting shortly. So I'll be bringing them those names and their para resolutions in front of the council.
So that's great news.
Yes.
Council, anything for Vern? All right, we'll move on. Rec Director Tammy, good evening. Report tonight.
Whoops. Okay, you can hear me, right? Sorry about that earlier. The piers that has been backlogged to September. They're still waiting. The DNR is still waiting on the floats for that. Like football, we're accepting registrations for kids in 4th through 6th grade. September 18th is our deadline for registrations. Our leagues, softball, volleyball, bocce ball, are pretty much wrapped up right now. We did 1 interview for youth center attendant, and we have 2 more to do tomorrow. So with that, that's all I have.
Thank you,
and
Tammy.
the Public Works has been starting on extending our skating rink at the Southside Skating Rink. So excited for that.
I've seen that today. Can't say anything for Tammy. Thank you, Tammy. We'll move on. Attorney Lindsay, report tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. No formal report, but I am happy to field any questions.
Brian, I'm going to ask you one. We heard from Matt Roy earlier, looking at possibly leasing out a portion of City Hall. And he mentioned in his discussion or his presentation about renting space out under our lease. Any concerns there?
Yeah, I think if the issue goes to whether or not we're going to permit subleasing, it's always my suggestion that the city have a consent provision in there, just that, to a certain extent, we're in control, or at least can have knowledge of who's there. And if we find that it's somebody who's really causes for some reason some concern, that we can decline to allow any sublet. But I mean, as far as just having folks rent the space, legally, it's a permissible thing that the city can do.
Okay. And then the other thing is, I think we're allowed to talk about eviction with regard to that last trailer house we have up near the campground. How's that process? Did we start that process? I think I've seen something about it. I think some in one of my emails or something. I don't know.
We did, Mayor. We did receive, we started the process, we noted a non-payment eviction, and they actually paid current. So now they're current with the rent obligation. And so based on that, we will be able to restart the process, but not for a couple of weeks yet.
Okay. All right. Good, Adam.
Attorney Lindsay, I think one of your other communities that you serve for is looking at ordinances against boondocking. Is that something that we should be looking into, or is that some information you could share with us?
I haven't received anything hard in writing or created anything at this point, but.
Okay, but that's like to prevent people from not using their campground and posting in Could you bring us up to speed on what that is?
Essentially, my understanding is that it's essentially taking up residence in a campground. And obviously that's something that we want to control by our leases, well, not leases, by our licenses that we grant for temporary use to make sure that they don't turn into leases that create additional rights.
Thank you.
Well, that's a different spin I never heard. Glad somebody's thinking about it. All right, anything else for the attorney before we move on? Co-Administrator Zahl, we'll go to you next. Good evening. A report tonight?
Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple things. Some sad news. Tyler Copeland, the platform for his college education changed from online to in class. So he is back in North Dakota as of yesterday, and will only be available to support this department on Fridays of every week. So that's a real bummer for me. The other thing is just to let everyone know I moved into Bill's old office. I have a lot more room, and we made some room for Jess, our new ambulance director. That's all I have. Thank you.
Council, anything for Eileen? All right, thank you, Eileen. We'll move on to Stephanie, Co-Administrator. Good evening. Anything on the administration side, Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor. I do not have a formal report tonight.
Okay, Council, anything for either of our administrators? All right, we'll move on then. Consent agenda. These are the list of bills that Eileen sent off a little earlier today. Airport Authority minutes, Fire Department minutes, Planning Commission minutes, Police Commission minutes, Public Utilities Commission minutes, Library Use Data Report, Arrowhead Area Agency Communication, Minnesota Museum of Mining Communication, Minnesota Department of Education Communication, minutes of previous City Council meetings, the July 28th, 2021 regular meeting, the August 11th, 2021 special meeting, and the August 16th, 2021 joint meeting with the Airport Authority. Payroll and overtime. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Corrections, comments before we vote? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikala-Raha. Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Tampa.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. New business. Mandy, Siri Falcone variance application.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You'll find two requests for variances on the agenda packet. The first one is for Siri Falcone, and she is requesting a fence with a 0-foot setback. The original application was to place the fence on city right-of-way, and that was denied. The Planning Commission did recommend approval for the fence with a 0-foot setback.
Mandy, just a comment. The second one is going to be a lot harder to have a discussion about for me. You know, my concern always on these fences is damage we may create plowing snow, which brings us to the second one. But I mean, any concerns here? I mean, how far away from our path of plowing does this end up? The drawing's a little hard to see. It didn't print really well.
The property line is 33 feet from the center of the road, which usually puts it back about a foot past where the power line pole is. I don't anticipate any issues with snow removal on this application. Larry may be able to chime in a little bit more on that. I do know there are plans to redo this road, and I do know the applicant may be waiting to construct the fence until the road is complete.
If you had a guesstimate, did you go look at the property?
Yes.
So like from the curb line, I mean, how far back is it? Or roughly?
So from the curb line, you're looking at probably 12 to 13 feet in is the
Okay.
property line.
See, you
Because
know, that's
what
always a
happens there
concern.
is there's no sidewalk in that area.
Yep.
Right.
But see, so that's what concerns me, you know. You've been here long enough to know what these snowbanks look like in the wintertime. They basically go from about the curb line all the way across the full boulevard and usually even cover the sidewalk when we have a big snow.
Right.
I can tell you, we probably, you know, and when Larry, you know, when the snow starts building up, they got to take them graders down and they got to push that whole pile back so they got room to put snow. And I mean, that's my concern with approving
Right.
anything that's any
And it-
closer than where the sidewalk would have been, you know. So
It was discussed in the public hearing that the property owners, you know, were notified that there could be damage to their fence with snow removal.
all right.
So
Council,
they are
any-
aware of that.
Council, the Planning Commission did recommend we allow this. I'll open for discussion or for a motion. Either way.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request of 0-foot setback.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you, Adam. Council, further discussion?
Yeah, and we did, you know, obviously the planning and zoning board wanted to make sure that she knew that the street would likely be torn up in the next couple of years. I'm not sure exactly how wide that street is, but I think it's closer to probably probably almost 20 feet from the curb line back. You know, if the street's only 24 feet wide, you go 12, you know, it's under 21 feet. So I think there should be plenty of room. And it's kind of on a corner there. So I don't think that the snow would be a big nuisance there for the city crew.
The actual right of way there is 66 feet. So.
Hey, Brian, is there any way of protecting ourselves from damage that we create when we're allowing variances like this?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we can always have folks sign off on things, and through the public hearing process, it's a due notice, so it's a due process proceeding, so that neighbors who may be negatively affected can come in and voice their opinion and make sure they bring it to our attention. At the end of the day, there may be some immunity things that would apply, but if we really are reckless in what we allow and don't allow, and we know that there's a real potential for a serious issue, and we allow it in any event, there is some potential there.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Larry, you're on too. Thoughts? You got concerns about the setback and moving snow?
In this example, Mayor, they did move their original request, which we'd all seen there. So I'm grateful for that. In this request, I think they're going to be okay. But I share your concern, and I'm glad that you asked. Actually, you know, from the center line, 33 feet, nobody really cares about that. It's really how far away from the curb, because that's where the grader blade is. And then with an 8-foot wing, when it's V'd back a little bit, that's more what we're concerned about. So in this example, we're okay. So I appreciate you asking, and I share your concern that maybe in the future it could be a check box there that says that, you know, you are taking some responsibility by moving your fence out to the property line. We do have to remove snow in Minnesota. We all know that. There's construction, you know, setbacks and stuff. So I think we're okay in this example, but in the future, it would be nice to have a little transparency there with the grader, you know, pushing back snow and such. So appreciate that.
All right.
Also, Also, I do want to make the note that it does state in our city ordinance that if the resident has a legal survey on file, they can put the fence at a 0-foot setback without a variance hearing.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and support. Council, any other discussion before we take a vote?
Can I ask one quick question?
Go ahead, Travis.
So Mandy, has it ever been brought up or discussed to allow for like a smaller application for a temporary fence that would be like spring to fall? Because this request is regarding safety. I'm actually the one who helped Siri get in the right direction as far as applying for this. And the whole deal with her is she has 2 very young kids, and they live on a busy road, and the fence is they want the fence there to protect their kids. And so I'm thinking maybe sometime down the line, it might be of interest if we allow temporary fences to be put up, and so maybe this type of issue doesn't come into play all the time.
Temporary permits are granted for 180 days only. That would mean that the structure would have to be movable. Therefore, you wouldn't be drilling any frost footings for the posts, and I'm not sure that anybody would want to do that.
Well, I'm just saying in the winter, when you build up the snow, that's really a temporary fence. I mean, so I'm just throwing it out there, that's all. Because it's 100% safety related, the purpose of why they wanted the fence initially where it was, where was the initial ask was. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Council, if there's nothing else, I'll ask Margaret to take a vote.
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. All right, Mandy, next one, variance application from Todd Ranke.
Yep, so our second request is from Mr. Ranke. He did apply for a permit for the fence. The site plan was actually filled out incorrectly, and as the site plan that was submitted had the correct setbacks, that I could approve the permit just over the counter without a variance. Upon completion of the fence, I did receive notification that the fence was put in the wrong place. So I went out to the property and talked to him and showed him where the property line actually was, and that he is on city right of way. And so what happened at the public hearing with this variance request is the Planning Commission approved a 0-foot setback on the side property line and the front property line, and then requested the applicant to move the fence on this street side property to his actual property line. So I did get an email from him that Iron Oaks is coming to remove the fence within the next month. So this variance application is just requesting a 0-foot setback, that the fence be located right on the line again.
And Mandy, that was this is the one I called you about, I think. Because the fence is literally like 3-4 feet from the curb line, and it'll be gone dead by spring, no question. He'll be moving it in the spring if you don't move it now, because it won't be there anymore. But so with that said, how far back do you think it'll end up being from the curb line? How far
from the curb line? It will be probably 12 to 13 feet.
Okay, so basically we're taking into account the boulevard and where the sidewalk would have been, and right there. Okay.
Yes.
So once again, I'm okay with that then. So council's questions, or somebody want to make a motion to allow that 0-foot setback then if he moves it to that location?
Make the motion to approve the 0-foot setback variance request of Todd Ranke.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that?
Second, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Larry, same question.
Same answer, Mayor. This one, if you ever want to see a reason why there is a rule, it's this example right here that, like you said, the grader would wipe it off without even trying. You wouldn't have to try, and we wouldn't be doing anything negligent. So this is a perfect example, and I appreciate that it'll be the 12 to 13 feet off the curb line. So this is a no-brainer. Thank you.
All right. Council, anything else? We have motion and support. Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Mikola Raha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent, Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Napa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Mandy. We'll move on to Stephanie's item, Headwaters Entertainment Business Plan and Agreement. Mandy, I'll just turn it over to you. Or Stephanie, sorry.
Okay, Mayor. Yeah, Headwaters Entertainment, like we heard from Matt Roy today, he's been to the EDA board a couple times presenting his idea for the space downstairs. At that point, they were still kind of waiting on the state level to decide what they were going to do with the film industry incentive program. And since that had passed, they're interested in moving forward with that space. Within the EDA board, the decision was made to have a $1,500 rent with Headwaters Entertainment paying the utilities on that space. And like Matt said, it would be the whole area down in the basement. But as you walk down the stairs, the left side would not be part of that lease. It would just be the right side within the main city hall.
So I have a question that came up that Matt actually asked, and I would think we would be able to get this information. Granted, over, the last few years, we weren't paying a utility bill. Matter of fact, as it turns out, the people that were supposed to weren't either. But since it's actually our building, maybe Brian will have to answer this. I mean, can we go to Minnesota Power, Minnesota Energy and say, so what kind of bill did they have during these periods? Like, what was it for last year for, the last year they were occupying it or whatever? Will they have to give it to us since it's actually our address right now, Brian, or thoughts on it? My question is, can we get that information from Matt Roy so he knows how much it costs to heat that place and have the lights on in there over the winter mainly?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We can get that information. And actually, I mean, Mayor, as you pointed out, the city actually fronted those bills for quite some time, and we probably have a lot of information just within our system. So,
okay, yeah, it'd be helpful for him, if we approve this, that try to help him with the whole, so he has an idea. So, Council, as I mentioned to Matt, Stephanie, I think we were the first two to meet him. She wanted me to meet him before he even went to the EDA. And he's very reasonable. He's not trying to bite off more than he can chew. I think he has a really good, I think we're dealing with something completely different. I know that some of the incentives that the Iron Range Resources in the county have brought forward had a lot to do with Matt Roy and his organization. And I know I spoke to this Ricky McManus with, I think she's with the Upper Midwest Film Office, and she spoke highly of him and had done some work with him. So I certainly am not against it. I can tell you that. It's kind of weird with all the problems we had with the movie studio to go back down that road again. But I think we're dealing with something completely different here. And I have, seems like he's got a good head on his shoulder. And I don't know. I think we should do it. Unless we're going to tear the building down, we must put somebody in there. Unless somebody has a better idea. Council thoughts? Somebody want to make a motion? I know we got two EDA people that have been meeting that can chime in.
Yeah, I just like to say, obviously, Matt, yeah, definitely gives off a great impression. Seems to have a lot of ducks in a row. I know one thing that we talked about was maybe like a year lease, so you can kind of reevaluate this after a year. He was throwing numbers out there as far as, once they do start picking up, productions come in, a percentage of, profits coming back towards the city, in lieu of rent payment or in addition to rent payments. So I think there's some really positive things that could happen here. He's been very active in the area. So I know before he came to us, I saw him up in Silver Bay. They were doing, some filming up there. So, I think definitely credible. Yeah, I think it'd be definitely worth the risk. If somebody's paying $1,500 a month plus utilities, I don't see how it would hurt anything for to try a year and then reevaluate after that.
Mayor, may I?
Yep.
I think that the intent for this discussion would be if we wanted to move forward in the terms and conditions of that contract and working with Attorney Lindsay to bring that contract back to the next council meeting to approve. So just the interest of we wanted to move forward in the terms and conditions the council would like to look at.
Okay. Council, so you'd like to talk specifically about that $1,500 plus utilities to see if the council is number one, willing to move forward with the contract based on that primarily.
And the one year contract.
Council, how do we feel about that?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Travis.
Again, I'm on the EDA and I'll just echo what Adam said. I think Matt has a lot of good qualities and things. The EDA did agree to the 1,500, so I do support that plus utilities. One of the only, and I do support, and I think I would only vote for a 1-year deal at this point, just because in the back of my mind, one of the concerns that I had was he wasn't initially talking about just having addresses at City Hall for these companies and not necessarily having people in the building. And so I think I would prefer the 1 year just for cautionary reasons and also to see how it plays out. And I think that if you polled the EDA members, they probably would tell you the same thing.
Okay. Marty, did you have some concerns with the amount of space?
Yeah, I'm still confused. I don't know. I don't understand what part of the building they're renting.
So it would be the entire open area. It'd be the entire open area, which is the arena itself, the big area. And then to the east of that, you have the shorter area that was added on at some point where they did the backpack thing. So it'd be all of that. And then, like I said, when you come from the City Hall offices upstairs, you walk down the stairs, you turn the corner, you walk down the next stairs, and you hit that big, huge door down there. There's some offices on your right-hand side right there. There's some offices and some bathrooms in there, and like a big room where you could put a big table, like a meeting room in there and stuff. So that would be part of it. So it'd be the big open area, and then the offices to the right. And we would control the offices to the left, where we reclaim that safe now that we have back control of it. I think that's where our records are again now, and there's kind of like a break room there, so that would stay in our possession.
Okay, did all that United Way stuff get cleared out of that eastern building? Did Ironbound clear all that out? I mean, it was jammed full of donations for United Way. Is that stuff all gone and cleared out of there?
Marty, the United Way doesn't have much left in there. I don't know if there's anything left with the United Way. There is still some things left from Ironbound. And there's one room that has a couple some things in it that would have to be addressed.
Okay. Well, it seems like an awfully large space for $1,500. I mean, that's a heck of a bargain, I think. I mean, granted, I know they're just starting out. We want to help them get going, but if this thing does get going, 1,500 is way too small of a number for that space, I think. And I think we need to see the contract that Attorney Lindsay can draw up for us before moving forward. I mean, kind of conceptually, I guess we can show our support, but
Yeah, that's all we're looking. Right?
Yeah, having experienced Ironbound Studios in the last go around, I'm very, very hesitant to ever get involved with the movie industry again, ever. That was a nightmare. And I hope these guys are better, but we've been burned before and we got to be real careful. So no obligation to the city. They pay the rent, they pay all the utilities, all the heat, all the gas. And Brian has to draw up a contract that protects the city 100% and allows for us to approve any subleasing. Any other transactions have to be reviewed and approved by the city. We can't let them run willy-nilly back there. So that's my opinion.
Marty, I think I'm in agreement 100% with that. And the only reason I would go with the 15 is because we're trying to help them get started out. But you know, and it's 1 year, and if things really kick off, they may have to have a real talk with us, because that's probably a $5,000-6,000 a month space in reality.
Yeah, I could see doing it for 1 year to get them off the ground and get them started. And if it's as good as they claim and they take off like they say they're going to take off, then they can afford to pay market value.
So what we're looking for then would be a motion to direct the city attorney to draw up the contract with the terms to 1,500 plus utilities, and hopefully include all of our concerns in that contract, some of which you brought up, Councillor Halverson. So if council's in agreement, I'd look for a motion to direct us to the attorney to bring that contract back to us.
Kind of in response to what Marty had said, do we want to put something in there? Because obviously it is a cheap cost, but if all of a sudden they do have a lot of productions in there and they are making money, would there be something where we would want to take a percentage of that? You know, all of a sudden if they're bringing in $1 million, we get 2.5%. You know, if they're not doing any production, then there's no, cost to them. But if they are working, then they're sharing that profit.
Well, and that would be the reason for the 1 year contract. We give them an opportunity to see how it goes. And if it's going well, we'll have to have a real conversation next year. We get a clean slate each year at this point,
Mayor, I have one more thing.
Go ahead.
In one of my discussions with Matt, he had asked questions on some of the furniture that was in the basement and if that could be within the contract. I just wanted to bring that up, and if any of that lumber can be used or not, I'm not sure, but he just had to ask those questions.
Stephanie, I can tell you from my side of the desk, if there's things down there he thinks he can use, at this point, we're just trying to figure out what we're going to do with them anyway. Obviously lumber, Larry always has a use for lumber. He probably just didn't move it because it's a perfectly good storage space. But I mean, if there's something there they need, bring it back and ask when we bring the contract back. I know I'm not going to be opposed to it unless somebody says, no, we got to keep that for some reason. So
I'd support that too, Mayor. If that was a deal breaker where they could actually make something happen there, I'm in 100% agreement with, all the discussions, especially Marty's concerns. The one thing I like to give simple and real numbers, the one thing I would ask the council and Attorney Lindsay and Stephanie is to bring back a very aggressive contract. If they're good, if they are what they say they are, they can agree to aggressive contract. I want to tell you how many garbage trucks we took out of the basement of City Hall, your staff, your public works staff, 28 garbage trucks out of the bottom of City Hall from the last renter. And that's all the garbage in all the city in a whole month was out of the basement of City Hall. That's like, we do 28 garbage trucks to run in a month in a normal, that's what our garbage truck drivers do. So we did that out of the basement of City Hall. So an aggressive contract would be wonderful. But other than that, we support this 100%. We need to use that space.
all right, council, we're looking for a motion to direct us as city attorney to bring back a contract with those terms and our concerns.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for $1,500 a month plus all utilities and have it subject to approval of Brian Lindsay's contract that he draws up for this 1 year first trial.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Travis. Also further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha. Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll move on to Larry's items. Emergency purchase of water heater at the campground. Everybody's aware of this at this point, but what do we need to do here? Just approve an after the fact deal? Is that what we're doing?
I think it was approved under the emergency purchasing policy there, Mayor. And just alert the council and yourself and anyone else curious there. And then thank you also to the Anderson Brothers Plumbing there for, they even had to reach out to their scheduled customers and ask that they help the city. So, if you're curious, I did not know it and I apologize. I'd have to ask of Eileen. There's Stephanie, someone that remembers the exact, we just did get the final invoice here this week, if anyone wants to know it. But otherwise, we're back up and running. We're in prime sold out camp season there with our 57 spots, and the Anderson Brothers went above and beyond. We went so as far to look for parts and equipment. We were on eBay on the weekend looking for parts. So you can imagine the city people on the eBay over the weekend and Amazon. It was, the system was a dinosaur and needed to be replaced. And we'd actually talked about replacing it. And so that actually helped in a replacement. So we knew what we had to do. We just had to make it happen. I appreciate Eileen, Stephanie, the mayor, everybody that made it happen and got our, we were out for about 5 days. If you can imagine these, and through a weekend. I also have to thank the Fair Board and Discovery Center. They allowed some of our bikers and our tenter people to use their shower facilities over that 5 day stretch. It was a Thursday to Monday. So, and it was the fair and it was busy. So everyone came together and we made it happen. And so thank you to everybody. And the questions with that.
Attorney Lindsay, nothing we need to do with this. That was because of his emergency. It's all covered. We don't have to ratify it somehow.
Mayor, it never hurts to ratify an emergency purchase after the fact. I think given the emergency authority under the purchasing policy, I think we're okay, but it never hurts to ratify.
Council, when do you want to give me a motion that we are in agreement this was an emergency repair and it was a legitimate expense, and that's it.
I'll make a motion that this was an emergency purchase.
Okay. Brian, does that do it?
Yeah, I think, Mayor, implicit in that motion is the fact that it was authorized and that it's an authorized purchase under the emergency power.
Okay. All right. Second for that motion. Thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you, Adam. Further discussion?
Thank you to the Anderson Brothers.
Yeah, we did a letter. We thanking them as well, and I actually called up the Anderson Brothers and spoke to them personally and thanked them. And next time I seen them, I passed them and called them up. I passed them on the road, and they were both together in the van. So I thanked them. So yeah, they actually put things aside to do it for us. So that's good. So, Margaret.
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Larry, replace water sewer metering Tremble program.
Thanks again, Mayor. Again, I'll try to be short. Yeah, the Tremble it's called, and that's what it's a handheld device that we travel around the city once a month. It takes about a day and a half to read all the water meters in town remotely. And if I would have to describe it to you, I wouldn't say it's a Nintendo system. I'd say it's like a flip phone, and we're going to an iPad. And it's outdated. It's irreplaceable. There's couple other communities in our same situation, and I appreciate Utility Clerk Keeley and Eileen, Co-Administrator Eileen Za, for the reaching out to our vendor. They are willing to work on this throughout the remainder of the year. We budget for it, and then we purchase it actually in the first half of next year. And we've got the competitive bid process done and like that there. So it's pretty proprietary, our system. So that wasn't really wasn't too much, but we were able to satisfy the policy there. And I look forward to your support in upgrading our water meter read system to the new replaceable. We can work on the system. It's an iPad. Most of you have an iPad, they're replaceable in a day. So that's where we're going. We're going from a system that's not repairable, not replaceable, to a system that is up to date.
Council, just from my side of the desk as well, being on the PUC, very concerning that Tremble is starting to skip a beat every now and then, and we got to try to get it working again. And if it quits working, I think our option until this is done is to walk in every house and read the meter, right, Larry? And would not be good.
Or not read meters for a couple months, and then you get a big bill, and then so yeah, you're right, Mayor.
So this is the PUC looked at this as pretty much an emergency we need to get started. It's going to be quite a process. You have, what do we got, about 2,500 meters in town, probably 2,200 houses, so I definitely think it's something we got to allow to be moved forward. We'd be starting this year already, but it looks like the first bill would come out in 2022 budget. So
yeah, correct, Mayor.
So Council Larry would be looking for a motion to allow that program to get started.
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Travis. Is there a second for it?
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion, Council?
Question, Mr. Mayor, and
Go ahead,
Larry. So this does involve going to every meter and doing a physical change, or no?
No, not yet, Marty. No, this is just the reader that goes around and reads the meter readings itself remotely. So that's a future discussion, which we'll be discussing next year sometime, but not at this time. Just the reader itself.
Okay, so the new reader will be able to interface with our existing individual meters?
Correct. Yep. And then is why some of the costs is involved to transfer all that data. And I'm going to recommend a 10-year depreciation on that, so it'll hit actually the customers for about that $1,600 a year on the water budget.
Thank you.
Council, for this further discussion. We do have motion and support. No further discussion. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikularaha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on. Thank you, Larry. Chris, North St. Louis County Mutual Aid Fire Agreement.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I was talking to Chief Nelson of Bearville a couple months ago, and he brought to my attention that our old agreement, the Ogleman Coalition Agreement, expired back in 2016 with most of these communities. So he put it out there to, have everybody sign a new agreement for a 10-year agreement. I believe Attorney Lindsay has seen it. I don't know if there's any concerns that he has, if he wants to chime in.
Attorney Lindsay, any concerns?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I've reviewed this, and there's nothing that I think puts the city in unreasonable risk.
Okay. Council looking for a motion to approve the mutual aid agreement from North St. Louis County, for North St. Louis County.
I'll make a motion to approve the mutual aid agreement, North St. Louis County, Northern Communities.
Thank you, Adam. Second for a motion.
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Mikala Raha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent, Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye, motion carries. Accept Augusta Sepola's letter of resignation. I want to ask why she resigned. She felt the need to resign in short order. Look for a motion to accept her resignation and send her a letter thanking her for serving on our fire department.
I'll make a motion to accept Augusta Sipla's letter of resignation and to send her a letter thanking her. And I would like to personally thank Augusta for her hard work and thank you for what you did for the community.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Chris, anything you want to add there?
No, I'd like to thank her too for giving it a shot. It's unfortunate she had to move out of the community, but it happens, and just thank you. That's it.
Okay. Council, anything else? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Mikala Raha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent, Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Chris. We'll move on to Katie's items. Resolution number 0821-67, accept library grant, page 65, Council. Katie's looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0821-67, accepting the grant for $110,000.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Katie, for your hard work on that.
Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Katie, anything you want to add on that?
No, I think you got it.
Council, any other discussion on that item? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Mikala Raha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent, Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Second part of this resolution 0821-68, we have to have matching funds in the amount of $110,000. It appears that that's in our budget. Would that be a correct statement, Katie?
Yep, that's correct. It was approved in the 2021 budget, so we would just be rolling that over into 2022.
Okay. Council looking for that motion to have the matching funds, contribute to matching funds.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Travis. Second for that.
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Council, further discussion. Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Mikala Raha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent, Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to Vern's items. Lions Club gambling applications. Vern, can you go through these a little bit for me? It's really hard to read mine. They didn't copy well with this blue ink. Give me a quick rundown of what they even are here.
Yeah, that one didn't copy very well, but it's just the Lions Club running bingo for a couple of nights down at Jim Sports Club as a fundraiser.
So it's the 8th and the 22nd. But what's the next page, the 23rd and 30th? Is that something different? On page 71.
Let me look real quick because I didn't. Yeah, I think those are two separate application or two separate sets of days.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may.
Yep, Margaret. Go ahead.
Jim's and one's at Raymond Jerry's.
Okay. Okay. So, Vern, let me ask you a crazy question. How come we have to approve these when they're a charitable gambling organization that's allowed to partake in this activity via their license that they get from the state? or whatever when we approve it. Don't they have to, all licensed to do all this stuff already?
Well, it's kind of like the liquor license that the state grants the permit, but it has to be approved prior by the city. So basically it's a state law that says that the council approves it and then the state grants them that application.
So council would be looking for a motion to approve these 4 dates, 2 of which will be held at Jim Sports Club and 2 which will be held at Tom and Jerry's for the Lions Club.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor, second for Marty's motion.
Or
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Next one is for St. Joseph's Catholic Church. We have 2 gambling applications, a raffle January 25th and a raffle October 10th for St. Joseph's. Look for a motion to approve those gambling applications.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha. Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Accept Officer Joe Erdahl's letter of resignation. You have his letter of resignation in front of you. You can tell just reading it that this is difficult for him as well, that took a lot of thought to make this decision. So I'd like to entertain a motion to accept Officer Joe Erdahl's letter of resignation and thank him for his time serving on our police department.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that motion.
Or
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
Thank you, Joel, very much for all the years of hard work, and it was a pleasure working alongside you on the fire department and the help that you gave us. So thank you.
Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Vern, for that. We'll move on to Tammy's item. Job description for skating rink attendance. I'm assuming this hasn't changed much other than maybe the rate of pay, Tammy?
Correct.
So we're looking at approving the job description so we can move on to the next item, council. So look for that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. Next item, Tammy would like to advertise for this job and hire up to 3 attendants. Anything to
Yes.
add there?
Just one thing on that. I have the wrong amount for Kelleher fencing in the memo. Their quote was actually $9,891.84, but Erdahl would
Hold
still
on
be
one
the
second.
low.
We're not there yet. We're still on advertising for
I'm
your job.
sorry. Okay.
But nothing to add on the hiring. It's just basically we're going to advertise and hire up to 3 attendants. All right,
Yeah.
Council, you make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance,
Sorry, aye.
Counselor Vaki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. Okay, Tammy, now you got the floor for the fencing.
I apologize for jumping the gun again. I had the incorrect quote from Kelleher Fencing. It's actually $9,891.84. The quote that you have received here does reflect that number. Iron Oaks is the low quote on this bid. This is for fencing that'll go behind a backstop for hockey rink at our Southside skating rink. And then the Public Works will build a 4-foot fence that goes below it. Wood fence. The fencing will be on the top half, and on the bottom half it'll be wood. So we can protect our neighbors, and the kids don't have to go through the snowbanks to collect their pucks.
This is a budgeted item, Tammy, for the most part?
Correct.
Okay. Council looking for a motion to accept the low bid for the from Iron Oaks fencing, $8,430. Is that right, Tammy?
Correct.
Looking for that motion.
Go ahead, Adam.
No, I'll support your motion.
A motion by Councillor Vaki, second by Councillor Lance. Further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tammy, is this going to be going around the perimeter of the entire rink?
No, it'll just be on the on the south end and on the north end. But in the future, if we decide that we want more boards, that could be done. The reason for this was basically just so they could have a little place to play hockey. And this way we can clean the ice easier because the boards will be straight, the fence line will be straight. So if we need to put a plow in there, it can come through, clear out the snow, and make it a little easier on the rink attendants.
Council, anything else?
You know, wouldn't you have to plow the snow all the way to one end to the other now? You can't really plow it to the sides anymore.
No, but you would be able to plow it west.
Okay, thank you.
If there's nothing else, we do have motion to support. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson,
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance, Counselor Vaki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Tammy. We'll move on to Jim Johnson. Resolution number 0821-69, St. Louis County Cooperative Agreement, crack ceiling. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Each year about this time, the county contacts us to find out which of their programs on street maintenance that the city wishes to participate in. And on page 86, in my request for council action, in meeting with Larry and working with him, we do wish to participate in getting class 5 aggregate from them, doing some pavement striping along Lake Street. This is all going to be done next year in conjunction. The pavement striping is in conjunction with the all-class reunion getting set up, and then crack sealing and our chip sealing, hopefully our ongoing programs just as we had this year. And then the administrative engineering field inspection fees at the county collects as well. And basically what they need is a resolution to allow the city to enter into a cooperative agreement with St. Louis County, again, for participation in their 2022 street maintenance program. So I'm happy to answer any question, but would recommend your approval of this resolution. It's items that'll be in have to be included in next year's budget.
Jim, I got just a quick question. So, like, we just did a bunch of that crack sealing, chip sealing, whatever we did.
Yes.
How often, like on a particular street, like one we did this year, is that the only time we do it, or do we do it in 2 more years, or what do we do?
Typically, crack sealing, usually after you put down pavement, it's usually somewhere about 3 to 5 years down the road that you do your first crack sealing. You're probably out closer 7, 8 years, well, even probably further than that before you really start doing the chip sealing to kind of rejuvenate everything. On our newer streets, we keep going back over to reseal the cracks that have opened up over the past couple of years. So probably about every second or third year, we're going back over it. There's usually not a lot of poundage or a lot of footage of cracks that need to be done, but just trying to stay on top of it so we don't have water getting down into our aggregate base and having the pop outs from our freeze thaw cycles in the winter. So we're just trying to stay. It's the cheapest, most economical way of maintaining our streets. It's not very labor intensive, and we're getting an extremely good price on this stuff right now.
So it'd be safe to say that you already know which ones you plan to do next year then?
Yeah, Larry and I will go back through and reevaluate in the spring, but yes, and at this point, especially with crack sealing and seal coating, it seems to be working out pretty well for us right now. If we can get that $50,000 and the $15,000 for crack sealing and about $35,000 for the chip sealing, seems to be working well for us, and I think we're staying pretty well on top of maintaining our newer roads and highways, streets.
All right. Council, Jim Johnson, our engineer, is looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0821-69 to continue with those programs next year. So
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 0821-69.
Total estimated cost $56,526. Second for Councilor Lance's motion.
Second, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Council, further discussions?
Yeah, I have a question for Jim.
Go ahead.
Jim, is there a way that we can request? I guess maybe there's it's a busy summer, but right before the fair, next year is going to be the all class. This year it happened right before we had the parade. We got the fair in town. There's a lot of people, classic cars coming through. It's really busy downtown, and I think they started the crack sealing right around Main Street that week. I mean, is there the week before and this week that you're not going to be doing that? Is that something we can do?
Certainly, we can make that request to the county, because there's lots of cities and townships, and as well as the county, that are doing these programs. And probably what we need to do is to tell them which dates we don't want them in town. Typically, they'll start at one end of the county and go to the other end. And so
right.
Certainly I'll work with Larry to find out when we've got events going on, such that this isn't happening in the middle of those events. Good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good point. It is. It does a good job, but it's messy. Council, anything else before we take a vote? Margaret?
Councilor Helverson.
Aye.
Councilor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Councilor Fountain. Absent. Councilor Lance.
Aye.
Councilor Vaki.
Aye.
Tampa.
Aye. The motion carries. Next item under Jim, pay application number 3 for 3rd Street Northwest project. He's got the rundown there, but I'll let him just go through it with you a little quickly.
No, we'll keep it real quick. If you just look at the request for council action on page 88, second paragraph pretty much gives you a good summary of what was completed last month, which is almost $265,000 in work. Total completed to date is about a little over $475,000. When we subtract out the 5% retainage and the previous payments on payments 1 and 2, what we have is a current payment due of $251,374.40. And I would recommend the approval of pay application number 3 in that amount to Masabi by 2 minutes. And just because I know Travis is always interested, if you go back to page 90, which is page 1 of the actual pay application, If you look at items 26 and 27, which are the rock excavation for boulders and for ledge rock, and as you go across those columns, the first sets of columns is the amount that was bid under contract, which was 1,065 yards of boulders and 1,500 yards of ledge rock. And then the next set of columns over is the amount of those quantities during this last pay period. And then the last two columns are the total to date. And as you see on both of those, we're well under the estimated quantities. We're less than 25% of the cost, which was, of those is over $400,000. And right now we're just under $100,000. So it's our way of tracking it, Travis, and hopefully we're through the worst of the boulders and the ledge rock at this point. But with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but would recommend approval of pay application number 3. Thank you.
Council entertain a motion to approve pay application number 3 to Visaba Bituminous in amount of $251,374.40.
Thank you for thinking of me, Jim. I'll make your motion to approve your pay application.
And we've got plenty of boulders for you if you need any for landscaping.
I don't need any. No, thank you.
Actually, if you go down there and look, there's a couple places where people have asked, and they've actually made some pretty nice looking rock gardens for them.
Hey, Jim, try to find out how you can get one up to Lakeview for me.
Up to where?
Up to Lakeview. I can't move one.
Yeah.
I'll give you the name of the contractor, and you can work your own negotiation. We got plenty. We've got quite a variety to select from. I'll put it that way. Thank you.
I was up in the falls yesterday, and there's a spot there. There must be a mile. Somebody just lined up big rocks all the way down alongside. I have no idea what they were doing there. They like made a fence. So we do have a motion. We're looking for a second for pay application number 3.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Who made the motion? Travis, I believe.
Yes.
You did. Council, further discussion on that item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, another question for Jim.
Sure, Marty.
Looking at items 23, 24, the geotextile fabric, 5,520 square yards. Tensar geogrid is only 650. It tells me we're not going to be putting it in the entire street, or what is that? What was that just for selective use? What's going on there?
I believe what they were looking at, Marty, the type 5 is over the entire project. We're anticipating that the geogrid is probably just needed down in that far end. The rest of it's pretty much up on bedrock and so forth as we go up the hill towards between 7th and 8th Avenue. But that decision will be made once we actually get into the soils and see what we've got.
Well, the purpose of the geogrid is for crack control. It's not necessarily a soils condition. All soils heave and crack in Minnesota. So you know that the geogrid is for crack control, and that's why I pushed it for all these years. So I guess in the future on all new street projects for the minimal price that we pay for it, I'd appreciate it if we put it in a typical section and just use it everywhere. And we're going to save money on our crack sealing and chip sealing. Thank you.
Well, we certainly can, Marty, because it is a unit price bid. So if we need it on the whole works, we certainly will.
Yeah, it's such a small dollar amount in these new street construction projects that it saves us lots and lots of money in the long term.
Council, anything else before we vote? Art?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha. Aye. Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Thank you, Jim. We'll move on to Marty's item, amendment number 2, maintenance contract for Redhead Mountain Bike Park. Marty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rock Solid has been working off and on out at Redhead They think they work 3 weeks in June, July, and they work 2 more weeks in August. And they've completed about a little over $50,000 out of the $61,000 scope. So we're a little bit under budget at this point, but there are 2 projects left to complete. Building a new connector trail that was at the suggestion of IROC, and I support it. I think it's a good idea. And the bigger one is finishing the roller derby rebuild, if you want to call it that. We did have that in the scope. Having worked with the Red Rock Solid out there and their builder, he's put together, I think, a really good scope and a really good plan. And he's one of the best trail builders around. So this is our opportunity to turn a mediocre trail into a real nice showcase trail that's a lot safer and rides a lot better. So in your packet, it was listed as $30,000 extra that we need to authorize. After getting their actual proposal, the total being $39,032 is the request from the council to add to their scope. If there's any questions, let me know.
Marty, so obviously I support that park. That's a great thing we have there. So we're using this money to add some stuff right now. Is that what's going on?
Right. Well, one trail is a short new trail. It's only about 500 feet long. When IROC and Bar Engineering came forward, they wanted to see the 2 bridges and this Weeper connector trail. And so we were, pretty much assuming that we would do that, although one bridge got eliminated, one got replaced with a culvert. And I agree that this little connector trail does help a lot. I think it helps with the whole network. So yeah, that is a new trail. And I think he said he could probably get that done in 3 or 4 days, but the rebuild of this roller derby trail is going to take some time, and it's going to take a bigger excavator than what they usually use. And their wage rates went up August 1st. I do believe they follow the prevailing wage rates from the state of Minnesota, and those rates went up August 1st. So there was an increase there as well. So I was guessing it would cost us another $30,000 to wrap up the scope, but the actual total request is now $39,032.
Do we know how much money we have left in that fund?
My understanding it was about 200,000, and we will have spent roughly half of that at the end of 2021. So we'll have about half of it left, as far as I know, unless Eileen or Stephanie knows differently.
Like I said, I'm not going to vote against this, obviously, if somebody makes the motion. I just, the money was really to try to maintain things, and we're supposed to get a completed park. So I'll just reiterate that to add at this point and use money that we're going to need for maintenance. We're going to run out at some point if we keep doing this, so that's my concern. Council, I will entertain a motion to approve the estimate of $39,032 is what you said, Marty.
Yep, that's going to be added to their scope.
Council, we're looking for that motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Travis. Is there a second for that?
Support.
We'll give it to Adam. He jumped in first. Further discussion, Council? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain. Absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Marty. We'll move on to Stephanie's items. First National Bank lease agreement. They don't need a lease agreement anymore. So basically, Stephanie, we're just looking for a motion to terminate the lease then. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Council looking for motion to terminate that lease, officially terminate the lease since they won't require it anymore.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Marty. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you. Adam, further discussion?
And Mr. Mayor, I'm still a little confused on exactly where it was located. It's hard to tell on this map. So was it just the western strip to the west of their
Yeah, I
lot?
think basically the way Charlie mentioned it to Stephanie, it was leased because they thought they may add an additional drive-through, a third drive-through, so that would be directly to the west of that west drive-through. And they don't even have two drive-throughs open right now because people do online vacate so much that their traffic is really reduced. So that's why they're not renewing it.
All right, thank you.
Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yes, Mayor, that is correct.
Okay. Okay, we have motion support. Further discussion, Council? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikuláraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
And Champa.
Aye. Okay, our motion carries. Council, next item, Lance, Debbie Locken update. As you can see, you have a request from the Lockens to help them pay the taxes they weren't aware that they owed when they sold the campground to us. Normally you wouldn't do this, with taxpayers' money. However, the Lockens did for the few months after they sold it to us. They were up there working with our staff, collecting money from our tenants, delivering it to City Hall and stuff. So we certainly could, I would be comfortable in assisting them with that if the council wanted to for that reason. They did do some actual real work for us that they didn't have to do when they did the transfer. But I'm certainly not going to try to drive it through, but that would be, if there was a reason to do it, that would be your reason to do it because they did help us quite substantially. So I'll open it for discussion, or I'll open up for any motion in part, in full, or not at all. I'll leave that up to the council.
I'll make a motion to reimburse them the $1,720 for property taxes payable in 2020.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Is there a second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Council, further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Can you please give us a timeline of this? Because these are 2021 taxes, not 2020. Now, when did they sell and when did they get out of there?
So that's actually the confusion, Marty, right there. So if you hold a lease for even 1 day of 2020 is for this example, right? So they got out in May of 2020, but because they basically were occupying this lease in January of 2020, they owe all of 2021's taxes. It's kind of confusing. Believe me, we went round and round with the county on this, and that's what actually was determined. And that's why the confusion existed. And that's why they didn't know they owed them. And we were trying to sort it out as we were trying to resurvey the whole thing. And that's why Lance and Debbie just said, hey, we did help you out quite a bit. We didn't have any idea we're going to end up paying these. Will you help us out? So, and like I said, they did do quite a bit of help. So that's what happened. So on a lease, this is the way it is. On a sale, it's different because they prorate it for the next person and they immediately move them taxes to the new owner on like a sale of a house or something. But on a lease, they don't. So that'll be something that we need to know if the lease ever moves from our current lessee to somebody new, that so we don't get into this situation again. So,
well, now we own the campground as the city, right? So there are no more property taxes for the campground.
Yep. Correct. Yep. So what we did, and we're just in the process of, as a matter of fact, it's an item the next item, as a matter of fact. What we did is we brought a survey in there because we had to create a survey of what the new tenant, Northwoods, whatever they are, Northwoods Laundromat or whatever, actually is using. And then it'll be submitted to the county. And he held that lease for the entire 2021 from January to current. And that'll be for 2022 taxes. So we're trying to get that fixed so that his taxes in 2022 will only be that smaller amount of property that he's actually in possession of. So that's actually the next item. And as soon as we amend the lease agreement and we attach it to that survey that we had done that we just got back, the county will create a new legal description for Mr. Purdy, and that should be substantially less taxes than what the lock-ins owed, because they were in possession of the entire thing on January 1 of 2020. May it changed, but because January 1, they were in possession of the whole thing, they're liable, or they owe the entire thing for 2021, 2020 there. Does that make any sense?
Maybe Attorney Lindsay, can you shed light on this? Is this how the law reads, that if you lease a property for one day in a calendar year, like January 1 or 2, that you actually owe taxes for the following year? Because that seems very odd. Doesn't seem right.
Yeah, the county's taking a pretty hard position on this one, and they've indicated that whoever held the property at as of the 1st is the one that's liable for the taxes. So
but they're going a whole year ahead. All this took place in 2020. These are 2021 taxes. I don't get it.
Correct. The reason for that is because the taxes are they're assessed in the year 2020, payable in the year 2021. So theoretically, the lock-ins enjoyed the benefit of the entire property while these taxes were accruing, and then they become payable in the year that follows.
Yeah, Marty, they're billed in arrears.
Yeah, Marty, I'll tell you what, I really struggled with this, and I send emails back and forth to the county because I was thinking to myself, so like January 1 of 2022, if I'm living in my house, I actually owe the taxes in 2023. However, I don't even know what those taxes are yet because nobody set their levies yet. They won't set them till the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? So when you're like arguing about your taxes, it's like you're arguing for, you already lost in a weird way, because the taxes are actually for a year. You already owe them for the next year. And they swore up and down, they're right, we're wrong. So that's why we ended up
for sales. Yeah.
It is
you sell a property, then it goes to the next buyer. But if it's a lease situation, that's not the case apparently.
Yep, that's what they said.
And Mayor, if I may, traditionally in the sales situation, those taxes are bargained for, and the division of payment is set by the purchase agreement.
Yeah, but none of us even really knew that this was the case. So that's what happened. So yeah, it's confusing, I can tell you that. And I argued that it was wrong, and they told me I was wrong. So all right, we do have motion, support council. Any further discussion on that item?
Mr. Mayor, I think I need to amend my motion or correct it. I misspoke and I said payable in 2020. So I will amend my motion to be payable in 2021.
The taxes that were payable in 2021. Who supported that?
I'm fine with that. I'll amend my support.
All right. Further discussion, council? Margaret?
Counselor Helmerson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikuláraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Amend lease agreement for Laundromat. Stephanie, why don't you just take that one? I've talked enough for a little while.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. In your packet, you'll find the amended lease for the laundromat with Mr. Purdy. Like the mayor said, we had that land assessed for all the purposes that we just talked about with the taxes. And that's going to be in this lease agreement also. The terms and conditions are the same as the previous lease. I have spoken to Mr. Purdy, he's reviewed it, and he has agreed to it.
Council looking for a motion to approve the amended laundromat agreement. Basically, it's the same one we had with the lock-ins, but we got it in the name of the new owners or the new lessees.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Halverson, second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Lance. Further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's not so much an issue of the principle here, but Exhibit A and B weren't in the packet, so I guess for future reference, if we could get the whole agreement with the exhibits would be nice. It helps with review. That's all. Thank you.
Are exhibits A and B the actual survey? Do we know?
I guess I don't know, but they were referred to, and I assumed it'd be the map or the survey map showing the property and how it was broke out, but they weren't in the packet.
And Mayor, if I may, Exhibit A, I believe, was the description, and Exhibit B was a picture of the plat map highlighting the area that was the subject of the lease.
Okay. All right, so that we shouldn't have wrote that we had them hooked on, I guess. Because I don't think they're done 100%, are they?
They are done, Mayor. They've been created.
Oh, could we get them off to the council, whoever's in possession of them, so they can see that?
I'll get them out, Mayor.
All right. Okay, we do have motion and support to accept that amended lease agreement. Any further discussion, council? Marty, just FYI, it's basically the laundry building, a little bit of the parking lot, and which kind of includes the vacuum area. That's about it, isn't it, Larry?
Yep. Yeah, you're right, Mayor. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Wherever he does business.
What's that?
Yeah, wherever he does business, correct.
Okay. So that's what the map will show when we do get it. So, Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikolaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll move on to Eileen's items. Resolution 0821-70. Approve adjusting entries for 2020. I'll let you take that because you know more about it than I do.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members and distinguished attendees. Jeff Sterl of Sterl & Company did his presentation earlier tonight of the 2020 financials that were generated from the audit that took place a few months ago in June. And in order to appropriately represent the amounts in the financials, we need to do some adjusting journal entries in our system. So this resolution before you provides the authorization to record these entries in order to represent the 2020 financials accordingly.
Also looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0821-70 to allow adjusting the entries.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Baki. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Mikolaraha. Further discussion. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikolaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is informational. First and second quarter 2021 reports and presentation. Eileen?
Great, thank you, Mayor. Can everyone see my screen? It shows the first quarter 2021.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So just to preface tonight's presentation of these quarterly reports, I did not include the general fund revenue because our local government aid accounts for approximately 60% of our proceeds, and the ad valorem, aka property taxes and special assessments account for 26%. of our proceeds, which are both received in the months of July and December. So representing them here would not provide a good indication of how expenses compare to revenues. And revenues aren't tied to specifically to departments. So it doesn't really make sense to provide them here. Revenues are tied, however, to each of the enterprise funds, water, sewer, refuse, and the campground, and I will be presenting them in the financial report. The second thing to keep in mind is that adjusting journal entries for 2020 have been received but not yet entered, and some of the reversals that occur on January 1, 2021 also have not been entered, which may change the balances in some of the revenue and expense accounts. So all of these adjusting journal entries and reversals will be incorporated and in the third quarter 2021 financial report. So just to give you some information before you take this into consideration. All right, I'll move through this quickly. So as you can see on the first quarter, it shows the department as well as the budget and the actual expenses to 3/31/2021. On the last column, it shows a percentage used of the budget. It compares actual to the budget. And I just wanted to identify a few exceptions. The budget transpiration is at 25%. So as you can see, the administration is at 32%. And that represents the telephone and network project that was ongoing through Dwayne Wolak. And IRM. City attorneys at 31.89%. We were just utilizing Attorney Lindsay's excellent guidance and support, as well as the streets department. Actually, Larry and I sat down recently and we had a great discussion on some reclassing of expenses. We identified several that don't belong in his department. So this percentage doesn't reflect those adjusting journal entries, which will be reflected in the third quarter. Any questions on this sheet? Okay. Here's the first quarter for all of the enterprise funds. Again, some exceptions are the interest under water department. It's at 38.83%. The expenses, the bond, represents the bond interest, and all payments have been made for the year. So this will just stay at this dollar amount for the remainder of the year. Under water sales, it says anomaly. This is a dollar amount that Denise and I had identified, and this is in this particular general ledger account because of an issue in Encode. We changed the way we did some billing, I believe in the month of March, and somehow this billing is being generated automatically in the system and charged to this particular revenue account. We're working on resolving this. I just wanted to point that out, that it shouldn't be in that GL account, and it'll be reclassed coming soon. Interest is at 48%. Again, this is bond interest, which is the final payment for the entire year. It'll stay at this dollar amount. And then lastly, at the bottom, you can see campground under laundromat, lease, utilities. I have needs, BA. BA represents budget adjustment, or I'm sorry, budget amendment, which I will address later on in my presentation tonight. Any questions on this sheet? Thank you. And here's a nice graph of the cash pie, and the balances for all of our checking and bank accounts as of 3/31/2021. The only one that we really like to look at, the percentage change, is the first account, because that's where all of our revenues and our checks are issued from. All the others are savings or CDs, and the changes, percentage changes that are represented there are just interests accrued or fees paid. Any questions on this sheet? No? All righty, let's move on to second quarter. So the same format, except the budget transpiration is at 50%. The city attorney is still a little bit high at 60.91%. Again, this is the utilization of Attorney Lindsay's services on a more robust way, in a more robust way. General government buildings is at 60.79%. And this actually includes 3/4 payments that we made to Honeywell, as well as the general liability and workers' compensation insurance. And those are final payments. There will be no more payments for the general liability and workers' comp insurance payments. So that contributes to that high percentage rate. This is also the case for the general, this is also the case for the ambulance services. General liability is at 95%, but it's a one-time payment. Ambulance services, for the street department, we're at 68.05%. This was due to 2 invoices we received for crack sealing. We received a bill for 2021 as well as 2016. It's not a surprise that the county issues these invoices late, but we are going to reclass these to the permanent improvement fund. It does not belong under the street department general fund. So this will be addressed in third quarter's reports. Any questions on the sheet? All right, enterprise funds, second quarter. So some exceptions are the debt service fiscal agent fee. That is a one-time payment that'll stay at $665 for the rest of the year. Again, I identified water sales as an anomaly, so the issue is still occurring as of 6/31. Sewer cleanings at 152%, and that is due to manholes and a sewer camera. Larry, do you want to chime in on this?
Yes, Eileen, the sewer camera isn't depreciated yet. But the sewer manholes were budgeted, but it was slightly over. It was $25,000 budget, and we spent like $29,400 because of the mill and overlay projects that we had to get these manholes done. So, but if I could note the depreciation, please, on the sewer camera, that isn't done yet. And isn't that like, that won't even be done till next year, right, Eileen?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. The debt service fiscal agent under sewer also is an annual payment, so it'll stay at $60. That's a done deal. Under campground, there's a campsite revenue is at 104%. And that's a good thing because we exceeded our budgeted revenue amount. Good job. That's the case also for showers. We're at 58%, which exceeds our budgeted revenue amounts. And you'll see it says needs BA under Laundromat lease utilities. For some reason, we didn't put a budget for this particular revenue source, and we will address this in the budget amendment process. Any questions on this?
I have a question on last year's campground. When I saw Sterl's report, I noticed there was a very large dollar item in there titled Other. So it's $170,000. Do you recall what that was for?
Under campground?
Yeah, under campground. It was listed as Other, and it was by far the biggest item on there. It was $170,000. Was that for purchasing?
Purchase? Yeah, was that the purchase, Eileen?
$170,000. That sounds correct.
To purchase it? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that was in May of 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question, Marty. All right, any other questions? Let's move on to the cash pie. So here's just a representation of where we are as far as cash. Any questions on the quarterly reporting? Great, let's move on to the budget amendment process. Yay, I'm so excited about this. So I'm presenting this process as informational due to the guidance I received from the League of Minnesota Cities and our auditors. In this chapter that you see right in front of you, the budget amendments highlighted there, it says that budgets can be amended. And the reason for the amendment is that City Council simply notes the reason for an amendment, sorry about that, through the adoption of a resolution. Our auditor also supports this, but she recommends that council does have a say in what percentage of the budget line item will trigger an amendment, which I'll get to in just a few moments. So I just wanted to share this with you. It's really important. Okay, so tonight I'm going to share 3 pieces of information. First will be the guidelines that help shape the budget amendment process, which you see in front of you. Second, I'll show you an example of the justification letter. Third, I'll show you the budget amendment request. And just on a side note, I did share this information with department heads in yesterday's staff meeting. So they are already abreast of this process. So some important things to keep in mind: the city's budget is a legal and public document, and it represents the taxpayers' dollars, but it's also considered fluid. Amendments may be required to appropriately allocate budget dollars to department expense accounts to reflect unanticipated costs. I also suggest that budget amendments only be allowed up to 2 times a year, just so we have some control under it, and will commence in April and August. Larry did request that we do some amendment resolutions after the month of August, just to represent any unexpected costs. Larry, do you want to share your thoughts on this?
Just if they're significant, nothing, you know, like we talked about, Eileen, nothing minimal or petty or not that big of a deal, but significant, please.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Budget amendments will require an adoption of a resolution to recognize and note the changes to the city budget. Amendments of expense accounts between departments, which is very different. It's when you know, if I'm in financial administration and I want to send some money Larry's way to the street department, you know, it's a very different consideration. And I suggest that it should be 10% or greater of the affected general ledger. I don't want to send Larry $50. I want to send him 10,000, right? If the money's there. So these are just, you know, guidelines that helped form this budget amendment process. Any questions on this information here? Okay, here's an example of the budget amendment justification narrative letter that I propose that we use. And this is a part of my documentation approach specific to an audit perspective. You know, it's important that we have all this documentation in place. And all it does is it just gives your department, you're addressing it to council, you're saying this is the GL account that I want to change for this purpose. That's all it provides. The next page is the actual budget amendment request, and it shows the current budget of your particular department, the year-to-date activity, and any increases and decreases that you propose to amend your budget. So as you can see, in this particular example, under the current operating budget, the total expenses is at $460,410. And with all the changes that I made in the increase and decrease columns, the proposed revised budget is the same. So this is a pretty clean amendment that I think will happen with many departments. It'll be pretty easy. We're just moving it between. Any questions on this? Okay, so I have put together a process. It's not complete. I'll share that with department heads and get that rolling next week. So I anticipate on having some budget amendments at the latest our second council meeting in September. All right. Okay, on to the budget 2022 budget schedule. So I revised this schedule that you have in your packet just to make it a little cleaner and prettier, and so you could see it, maybe understand it a little better. I didn't provide a nice copy, but my intent here is just to give you some perspective on the upcoming 2022 budget schedule, because it's coming fast and there's some important things that we need to address. So the first draft of the budget, discussion of the budget process. I'm also providing some historical information, and my proposed dates are based on that. So last year we met on September 18th, which included a discussion of the proposed tax levy and the scheduling of the public hearing for truth in taxation, which is, we have to do that. So what I propose is September 22. The proposed city levy is actually due on September 30th of this year. And as you can see, I show the second, third, fourth drafts of the budget working session that transpired last year. Obviously, these will be reflective of how much progress we make in each of the budget working sessions. And I can't say that we'll schedule 4 draft budget working sessions, but it's just here to provide you some perspective about what to expect. And after further consideration of this, I did reach out to the mayor and requested that we schedule the first fiscal year 2020 budget working session because it's coming pretty fast. We need to set that levy, have that discussion and have it ready. So is it okay that I address that now, Mayor, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, let's wait, but just because it would be out of order from the way we got it listed.
Okay.
Yeah, but good to bring it up because that'll be our last item under you. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Eileen, I love all your little graphs and everything. If you ever decide to go get a new job, could you teach a new person how to do that? Because
Sure.
they're very, to be able to look at pictures, it's easier to visualize,
Well, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. And Mayor, you're going to take item 5, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So there's Eileen's presentation. Council, any other questions before we move on to item number 5 under Eileen? All right. So she asked me about this earlier. I said I would try to take it because I understand a little bit more. So you have a letter from the county. They're asking us to waive the assessment fees for a parcel code. Basically, it's special assessment for a complete reconstruction project that took place on 6th Street Southwest. I believe this is the right one. And the property went tax forfeit. And the county's asking us if we'll waive that special assessment of $820.43. I'll give you my opinion on this. I don't think we should do this. The improvement is there. The county's going to sell the house, and I think it's fair to get that $820.43. It's calculated into our whole program of paybacks and everything else. And somebody's going to end up owning the house someday. That should be paid. So I don't know how the council feels about that, but that's how I feel about it.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think the county would waive any fees if they were the ones wanting to get paid, if we wanted to make use of a property.
And I'm assuming they're not giving the house away for $50 or something. They're charging somebody to value the house. And they're quite high, the value of houses right now. So I don't know. So we would have to make a motion to deny this or waive it. So I would be looking for a motion. Like I said, my recommendation would be to send the county back a letter denying the, tell them we expect $820.43. So I'd be looking for a motion. Either way, if you want to pay it, I'll vote no.
Mayor, I'll make motion to deny this request from the county. I guess another thing is I don't even see the request from the county. It's not in the packet. I just got a letter showing what the assessment is. But I'll make the motion to deny their request for this.
I'll support the motion. Marty, I think it's on page 124. At least it is in my packet.
Yeah, it's not. How did we get this? Do we know how we got this request, Stephanie? Do you recall, or Eileen? Was it an actual letter? Or was it? I know it came to the PUC first, so maybe.
Yeah, it went to Denise first. It was an email from the county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second for Marty's motion.
Travis, second.
Okay, we have motion and support. Certainly, council, if you notice anything like this ahead of time, please ask, because that document probably does exist, and it's real easy to forget things when you're trying to put these packets together. So if you see something that we need additional, certainly reach out to staff, and we'll try to find it ahead of time. So most of you, if you have your email open in front of you, saw that Attorney Lindsay did forward that what Marty had requested on that campground too. So we do have motion and support. Further discussion on the denied request from the county. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Last item under Eileen, she wants to look at scheduling her first budget meeting week of the September 13th. Is that correct, Eileen?
That is correct, Mayor. Thank you.
Do we have a preference there? You want to do it right on the 13th, or?
Well, that's a Monday. It's really at the council's discretion.
So council, that's our week off there. Stephanie, what were the dates on that, the school thing again? I seen the dates in my email here somewhere.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's 9/13 or 9/15. It looks like their preference would be 9/13 at 5:45, or the alternative date and time is 9/15 at 5 p.m. at City. The meeting on 9/13 would be at the Chisholm Elementary School.
Council, let's carry on both of these conversations at once. We need to. So do we want to look at 9/15 for our budget meeting and have that first meeting with the school on 9/13? Obviously, we got to prove it when we get to me here, but we need to know how this is going to lay out. So,
Mayor, may I suggest that the week of September 20 works well as too.
You know, council, like I always say, my life revolves around running these meetings. So I can do any day you want, as long as I know. So I think that the school's thought on the 13th. So I'd like to skip that. I'd like to, if that works out for the council, we should do that day. But council preference on when we hold our first budget meeting?
15th is the only day I can do it.
How's everybody else's schedule look on that day?
That would work for me.
I could make it work.
What time you want to do it? 5:30 or a little earlier? 5:30?
Early.
5 o'clock? Chime in, anyone?
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
5 is good.
Looking for a motion to hold that budget meeting, first budget meeting Wednesday, September 15th at 5 p.m.
Make a motion to have a budget meeting September 15th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Eileen. We'll move on to my items. Resolution 0821-71 Airport Authority levy. As mentioned, the airport held a joint meeting. We did not have a quorum. Councillor Halverson and I did sit and listen in. Hibbing did approve this levy at that meeting. Recommendation, let me find it, would be to adopt resolution 0821-71, allowing the Chisholm Airport Authority to have the levy of $587,174.19. That is, if you looked at your packet, it is a small increase from last year, which was a big increase or big decrease from the year before.
I'll make a motion to approve the levy.
Thank you. Second for that.
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. We have motion and support. Further discussion, council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, for the record, it still says in the resolution 16th of August. Should we change that to 25th of August? Since we didn't have a quorum at the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay with the motion maker?
Do I need to amend that motion then to say August 25th?
Yeah, we'll just amend it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. I will amend my motion to say the 25th of August instead of the 16th.
Oh, it does say adopted down on the 25th down below, but so it might be right. Margaret, it is right, isn't it? Because it just says when the meeting was on the 16th. Is that what it's actually saying there?
I'll have to look at that.
So anyway, if they both need to be 25th, they'll be 25th. So council, we do have a motion and support to make sure we have the corrections in there so it's correct. Further discussion? Margaret?
Councillor Halverson.
Aye, for August 25th.
Councillor Mickleraha.
Aye.
Councillor Fountain. Absent. Councillor Lance.
Aye.
Councillor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. Next item under me, application from Lloyd Cho for Economic Development Authority. Council, as I do with many applicants, as I ask my council members that serve on the board how they feel about personalities. You know, these boards, they're all running pretty well actually right now, and not a lot of conflict on them. You get a wrong person in there, you can get some conflict. I did reach out to both Councillor Vaki and Councillor Lance and asked about Mr. Cho, just to make sure we don't have concern is always a strong personality that wants to change the direction. They didn't feel that was a concern of theirs, and they felt that Mr. Cho would be a fine addition to the Economic Development Authority, and that he does have a lot of good ideas, having spoken with them. They both shared with me. So I would entertain a motion to allow Lloyd Cho to, I believe he would be filling a position that was someone that was filling a position. So I believe it's only till the end of this year and he would need to be reappointed. Would that be correct, Margaret? Is that what we thought?
Yes, that's correct.
So council would be looking for a motion to appoint Lloyd Cho for the remainder of this year, at which time he would be up for reappointment.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lance. Further, second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Councillor Vaki. Further discussion? Margaret?
Councillor Halverson.
Aye.
Councillor Mickleraha.
Aye.
Councillor Fountain. Absent. Councillor Lance.
Aye.
Councillor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. A joint working session with the school board. They'd like to look at September 13th at 5 o'clock, I think is what somebody said, at the school. Look for a motion to hold that joint meeting, and we will need a quorum there. So I'm hopeful. Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
Could you repeat the time? It kind of broke up when I was listening. What was the time?
Stephanie, that was 5 o'clock, correct?
One second here, Mayor. Just to pull up the. $5:45
Oh, good thing you asked, Marty.
on Monday, the 13th at 5:45 in the boardroom of the Chisholm Elementary School.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Adam? So that'll be the motion? That's good?
Yep.
Second for that?
45.
Did we have a second already?
Cheyenne.
That's okay with Cheyenne as well, 5:45 Cheyenne?
Yep.
Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. So this next item, schedule a closed session for Mandy Galley's annual review. It's kind of weird. We only do a couple of people, but we do Mandy's review all the time before she's reappointed. I believe at the last meeting, last time we reviewed it, she just had it open to the public following one of our council meetings. Is Mandy still on with us?
I'm here, Mayor, yes.
Mandy, how would you prefer to have your review open, or you want to sit with council in closed
I'm
session?
comfortable with the same as we have been doing. It's up to the council, but I am comfortable having it open.
So council, I would look for a motion to hold that review of our building official following the September 8th council meeting. We'll put it as the last item on the agenda. And if she changes her mind, we can, Brian, we could close it at that point, right? If she changes her mind before we get to that meeting.
Correct. As long as we list that we would be evaluating an employee and we could make the decision at the time of the meeting.
Okay, so we'll make it the last item, council, on the September 8th meeting. Look for a motion for that.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance,
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Coach, I'd like to talk about this next item a little bit. Okay, I think you know that I'm a big supporter of veterans. I'm a big supporter of first responders. So if there was ever a time that I would want to expend some city funds for a fundraiser, it would be for those individuals. With that said, when an individual puts in a request for a street dance, we do have some additional expenses that we wouldn't have with what we've allowed Mr. Schnorr to this point. Vern could talk to this if he wants to, but I believe if there's a street dance, Chief Manor prefers to have 4 officers on the street during a street dance. We do have, they would be on overtime most likely because we do not have extra officers just floating around that aren't working a full schedule already. They may be on overtime the way it is. And then in addition, when you use the street, although we would be using a lot of that street throughout the day anyway, because he's doing pretty much an outdoor event, we do have, usually we run the street sweeper up and down that street to try to clean it up. So, would I vote to do this? Yes, I would. The question was, does everybody get the same opportunity? If it was a real good cause, I believe I would always vote yes for that. To me, that answer is yes. And I pretty much outlined what I believe is some really good causes. And there's probably other ones. So to me, I would do this. But, as a disclosure, Todd and I are also very good friends. And I'm a big part of this. And So I'm not going to try to encourage you one way or the other. He'd like to have a band. He wants, because it's the 20th anniversary of September 11th, and it is on September 11th, he wanted to make it a great veteran celebration. This was just one more item, and he was going to bring vendors in as well as part of that. And a lot of that would come off the table. So I'm going to leave that up to the council. I'm not going to try to encourage you one way or the other. Obviously, Todd would love to have the band and, and the additional things. So, but I wanted to tell you everything I hear. So that's it.
If I may?
Yes, Councilor.
Just before the meeting tonight, I talked with another board member from Fishing with Vets, and he had brought up that if it is a cost to the city that might be a hindrance to allowing this, that they do have resources available to them. They have a lot of veterans that are part of their groups. So they're also law enforcement that they could reach out to, volunteer their time. If we needed to have security, going through instead of having our officers on overtime, if that was something that we'd be willing to do, or, they would be able to get 4 or 6 different officials from, state troopers, sheriffs, law enforcement from Hibbing. So those are possibilities also. But I definitely agree with you that I would love to see this, and I'd love to help them make it happen.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow their lifting the noise ordinance from 7 to midnight. Well, I guess the noise ordinance would be from 10 to midnight, correct?
Yeah.
But then I would want to talk with Chief Manor what would be allowed to have, if we have to have security on the ground, if we want to have volunteers coming in, and what his thoughts on that would be.
Chief, you want to chime in? You obviously look at these things from a totally different perspective than the rest of us.
Do we want to get a second before we get a second?
That's fine. Hold your thought. So is there a second for Adam's motion?
Second, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Go ahead, Chief. Let's I'll have you answer that for me now.
First of all, yeah. So my issue with, and don't get me wrong, I'm a full supporter of this as well, Mr. Mayor. And my only thing is, once we start putting music and we start going later in the night, it's not the people at the ATV, they're at the ride and they're for the raffles and everything. Those people are never a problem. Those people probably will be gone shortly after the raffles are done. It's when you start adding music and start running it till late hours at night, it's the other element that ends up showing up. As far as if you're paying for security or you're paying for those other outside people to come in, they cost more than what it is to run us on overtime. If they're volunteering, I would throw a caution in the wind because they're not covered. They don't have powers of arrest, and if they get injured and they're volunteering, there's no comp or anything liability. That's why we don't allow our officers to do that anymore. So I would have a real issue with having. And the other thing is, there's a reason we have our own police department, because we control how we do policing, and that's why I don't like the idea of volunteers. My minimum usually is 6 officers for a street dance. I think we'll get away with 4 for this, and don't know if I have any others anyways, because that includes me on the street that night because we're short-staffed. So I think we need to be on the street. And the cost is under $1,000 for that time is what I expect. And it's an in-kind service if that's what the council chooses to do. I would really appreciate the band shutting down at 11. Only reason being, you're gonna have city crew, it sounds like, come out and do the street sweeping. And that's another thing, that needs to be discussed when we do these events. In the old days, when we had street dances, it was the bars themselves that swept up the streets and cleaned up the streets. If we're doing this all in kind and having city crew out, you're gonna have several city crew that has to come out, clean the streets, sweep the streets, however we're gonna do this. And if we could shut down the band by 11, maybe they could start sweeping the streets by midnight, 1 o'clock, and then start opening them up. And I really think, for the most part, if you start a band at 7, 8 o'clock, by 11 o'clock, the people that was intended for are probably gone home, and the bars have made their money, and the raffles are done. So we're just prolonging any overtime for us in the city crew. So that just, what are parameters? If we're doing this as in-kind service, what are the parameters we're going with? I'd like to see 11 just because it shortens things up for our guys, but I'm willing to work and make it work however, which we always are.
Council, you know, he suggested 7 to 11, possibly till midnight. Who made the motion, Adam?
I did, and I will change that.
And like you said, you know what happens. You get to 11, one more, they end up playing till 11:30. If you say 12, it's 12:30, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's a fair request to go with what he suggested as the 11th. Marty, how do you feel?
I agree. Cut them off at 11.
Okay, so the motion and support, we got approval to allow this, but the cutoff would be 11. Council, further discussions?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, go ahead, Steph.
I just have one question as far as the process will go for events like this. Moving forward, if we have these types of requests again, does the council want to see them one by one? Or do we want to form a policy on these types of events?
I can tell you how I feel. I hate what Todd did here, and I've told him a number of times. He needs to bring the whole project. He built it as he went, and he can't do that. So yeah, we've taken action like 3 different times, right? We did the event, then we added fireworks. Now we're adding a band, and I know he's trying to put it together in real time, and it's difficult to put it all together ahead of time. You know, especially in COVID, he was having trouble finding a band, and some locals stepped up that are a band. And so I could kind of see his reasoning too, but yeah, it should become as a package, I believe. So
that's the other thing that we had discussed at the staff meeting too, with the fireworks and the burning band. There's a chance that those fireworks will not be able to, and I think Mandy was following up with that also.
Yeah, I've already reached out to Todd and told him if things don't change, he can't have them because we're not going to be allowed to. And it ain't our rule.
No.
He's praying for rain, and we do have a little while yet to September 11th. So, but yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but yeah, it's obviously preferred that it comes to us when somebody requests a citywide event to have the whole program in front of us. No question. It's turned into a mess. So.
The other question too, just moving forward, do we want to tie dollar amounts of the in-kind service that the city will be at?
I think we need to know what they are when we get done anyway, so we know.
Okay. Thank you.
So if we have a request like this in the future, we know what it's costing us, because I have no idea.
So that was kind of where I was headed. I was just going to say, is it possible for Larry and Vern to get those numbers together for us before our budget meeting, so that we can look at we can look at those numbers?
It's very get them for you, Councilor Bucky.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the conversation, should be, how many do we have a year, and have it included in the budget for that. So that would be my suggestion, to include that in our budget discussion.
Okay. All right, Council, we have motion and support to approve Fishing with Bets request, but only until 11 p.m. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain, absent. Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Campa.
Aye, motion carries. Council, last item, as we're all aware, we were going to try to have a face-to-face meeting tonight. And I asked Stephanie to reach out to all of you as well as our staff. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are very concerned about the uptick in COVID cases, the different variants. A few people have mentioned that they know a number of people that have gotten COVID a second time and it didn't go any better than the first time. And the size of the council chambers are small and we don't have really good airflow. And when I got all that data back, it was just like, we gotta rethink this. I don't know what the answer is, actually. I've thought about this. I don't know if we can find a larger venue so we could meet. I can tell you that I'll sit here and do Zoom meetings for the next 10 years before I try to run a meeting with a mask on. It's just absolutely miserable. I work with a mask on half the time because I'm in people's nursing homes or their assisted livings, and I hate it. And quite frankly, I think when you're breathing hard from working with a mask on, I actually believe I come home with a headache a lot. It's not made for strenuous activity. The masks, they're tough. If you're walking around and stuff, they're not bad. But I can tell you that so I don't know. How's the council feel? I know we'd all love to. We got two people on our council here that have never sat in their chair yet, hardly, on a real council. So I don't think Stephanie ever. Yeah, it's just. This is tough. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to try to force feed anybody, but I suspect that our low turnout at the airport, there may have been some people that were uncomfortable going to that meeting because of, once again, the small building. We sat in that room. So, I don't know. They took the restrictions off. I'm not afraid to sit in that environment. It is what it is. I guess if I end up getting COVID and die from it, I guess that's the way life turned out for me. So, but others feel differently. I've also lived a pretty full life already. So some people are in the middle of raising their children and everything else. So I can see how there's different opinions. So I don't know. How's the council feel? Just stay the course for now and see how this variant actually escalates, because it appears like the numbers are going back up.
I don't think I need to really voice my thoughts. I think everybody knows how I feel, and I do not like Zoom. So anyway, I'm willing to do what the majority is, though. I respect everybody that works for us. I will begrudgingly be on Zoom if I need to be, but my preference would be in person somewhere.
Marty, Cheyenne, Adam, thoughts?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if it's a case of majority in this case, because in COVID, it's definitely not the majority's opinion that matters. If there's anybody that's any one person, I don't know that we can even meet in person like we in our chambers because it's too close. So, yeah, if we had a bigger venue, it'd be great. When I first got on, I thought Zoom meetings were going to be horrible, but actually, I don't mind them. I can keep doing this because, there actually are some benefits. I'm fine either way, but I don't, in this day and age, if there's one or two people or even half our council, if they're not comfortable, I don't know that we can force in-person meetings unless we have social distancing and all the requirements and masks. And yeah, I don't know if I want to sit on a small room with a mask on and be at a meeting for 3 hours.
No, I agree with you, Marty, and I agree. That was my thinking too. If there was even one person that was uncomfortable, I just don't feel. I want the whole council at my meetings, as many as can be there. Okay, unless something drastic comes up or they're sick, I want them at my meetings, and if it has to be Zoom to do that, I guess that's where we're at. I don't know what else to say. But like Travis, yeah, I want to meet in person. I love meeting in person, but I can do it either way. Quite frankly, it's either easier to control for me because there's only one person kind of that can talk at a time. So, and even the public participation it's actually a little bit easier. It's a lot more controllable. So, I don't know. I mean, if you want, we can see if there's some way to try to create a bigger venue, because I don't know that what we're discussing changes anytime soon. That's the problem. I mean, what we're talking about right now is probably through 2021, because somebody's not going to be comfortable unless something drastically changes with these variants coming around. So how about we just, at this point, we stay with Zoom. We'll see if there's a way we can create a bigger venue. I don't know if there is. If we can find one, I can ask the attorney what he thinks. I'm assuming by council motion, we can change the location of our council meetings to a bigger venue. I don't know. Maybe we hold it downstairs at City Hall before the movie studio moves in. But, obviously cameras and lights, camera action, audio recording and everything is just an issue as part of this. So
hey, we could have this, Mayor, we could have this new movie producer design a new set for us, the new high-tech COVID futuristic city council chamber where we're all in individual bubbles or something. They can produce it and make it all cool. Who knows?
Because we gave them such a good
for
deal.
$1,500 a month rent, we should get something out of this.
I'm going to have Stephanie tell them that too. I like that, Marty. That's good. So council, at this point, if you have any ideas, bring them forward to us. We'll stay with Zoom for now because I do know we have at least 2 council people that are a little bit uncomfortable meeting. And if they do meet, they want everybody to be masked up, and I would prefer Zoom at that point, I can tell you that. So let's see where it goes. We'll go a couple more meetings. We'll talk about it again. Anything else miscellaneous we need to talk about before we adjourn, council? If not, I'll look for that motion.
I have 2 things.
Go ahead, Jeff.
First thing is a clarification. So is that for all our meetings?
We'll take them up as we go. The biggest problem with holding council meetings, Travis, in person is all the other people there. So I think if it's a meeting of the council where we're not filming and we're not recording audio, we're talking face to face, we can always hold that in a bigger venue where we can get social distancing. And if some people want to wear masks, we managed to get everybody there on Monday, right? So I think we'll take that up as it goes.
I just meant the budget meeting we booked tonight and the working session with the school.
We'll have to reach out to them and ask them what they feel. At this point, they think we're going to meet in person, I believe.
Okay.
I don't know how big a room there is. If there's concerns there, bring them to Stephanie's attention. Any of the council have concerns. Maybe we can look at a bigger, we're sitting there talking face to face. Maybe we can hold it in the library or in the gymnasium or something if we have some concerns. But we need to bring it forward as soon as we can because that's, September 13th, we're going to be meeting with them. So.
Right. Okay, good.
I would like to, let's take the meetings one at a time. And like I said, if you have some concerns on that one or the budget meeting, we'll talk about a little bigger room or something.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Just wanted clarification there. Second thing is, and I apologize, I meant to add this to the agenda and I didn't do it. I don't know if anyone else besides Councillor Lance and I have been reached out to regarding the Redhead and access to the water down there, but I did get more than one person that reached out to me saying that MDC is telling people who want access to the water that the city said that was no longer allowed. And there was a couple of people that wanted to go fishing, and apparently they were denied access. And MDC said that the city approved them not getting access to the water. So I think we need to clarify that with MDC, like ASAP, because I know when we had talked about approving the kayaks and other things for MDC, not letting people fish was nowhere near that discussion. So I meant to bring it up earlier and add it to the agenda, but I did not do that.
So Travis, let me try to clarify this, okay? So there's never been traffic via vehicle down there. It's always been illegal. Okay? It's an ATV trail. It's not a car trail. Okay? We allow just the shuttle bus to shuttle down people that canoe, kayak, want to swim. They can use MDC's shuttle. If they rent from MDC, they do it for free. There's a fee if they don't, if they bring their own equipment. I think that's all fair. They're trying to offset the cost of the shuttle. MDC is one of our partners in this, so I think that's fair. We want to encourage those activities, and they have to offset their costs. So I think that's fair, and they're willing to take anybody down there that wants to pay the $5 or whatever to get hauled down there. With regard to the ATVers, Larry and I had a little discussion about that. We have not allowed the activity of fishing down there in the fishing boat yet. And if the individuals want to go down there and fish, the way they're fishing is probably very legitimate even. I believe they're hauling their boats down on ATVs, okay? We just haven't allowed fishing yet. Nobody asked us about fishing. So my answer to Larry was, if they want to fish down there, just ask the council. If we can do it safely, we can't allow them to take their cars down there and pull a big boat trailer, but it's just not set up for that. But if they want to bring them down there with ATVs and we can safely get these little boats in, and we'll have to, but the reason I need them to ask is because we have to come up with the criteria. What are we going to allow down there? And in addition, we have partners in this that Attorney Lindsay has to make sure that they're okay with that. We're allowing them to fish now. They know we're canoeing, kayaking, and stand-up paddleboarding and swimming down there. Bringing a fishing boat down there and fishing with a trolling motor or whatever on it. I mean, we have to make sure. All they have to do is ask. And if we're in agreement, we're okay with it, that they can haul them down there with ATVs. We'll have to make sure it's okay with all our partners in it and it's safe. And I'm totally not against it. We just haven't allowed it yet because no one asked yet. They were doing it and we didn't stop them. That's what happened.
Okay, well, I guess I understand your point, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it's a city park that's open to everyone. So I guess maybe add it to the next agenda for a discussion, because I think that should be an allowable thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not even disagreeing with you on that, Travis. It's just somebody's got to ask, and if you want to put it on there, we'll get it on there. We'll have a discussion, and we'll set the criteria, and we'll have our staff reach out to Iron Range Resources, the county, our private partners, whoever's in there, our insurance company, and just make sure that we can do it. And if we can safely do it, I can tell you, I'll give you a yes vote too, no question. So
okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that, though. I appreciate that.
It's come up to me about 5 times this week, so I've had to have this discussion already. But like I said, it's unfortunate that when we open the road, people start doing it, and we really never stopped them. And I'm not against it in some form or fashion, but we do have to have an official request, like Discovery Center came to us, asked us to do what they're doing. If somebody says, hey, we want to be able to haul boats down there with ATVs and fish, and here's where we put it in, and we send some people down there and look, and it's perfectly safe to do, and our insurance doesn't have an issue with it, and our partners in this don't have an issue. I don't have it. I can tell you I don't have an issue. So we'll get it on the next agenda. We'll have a nice discussion about it, and hopefully by September 8th, they're fishing down there if they want to.
Fabulous.
All right. Motion to adjourn if there's nothing else, council, or does anybody else have anything? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Travis, Marty seconded. I guess I'll take that as a second. And all in favor, council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, council, this motion is adjourned. Everybody have a great night.
Good night, everybody.